breaking Friday the 13th at 10:42 Eastern Time. SWAT was on the move this evening, and apparently they're getting ready to breach a home. We don't know how long that will take or where exactly it is going on, but we are being told it is in relation to the Nancy Guthrie disappearance. Tactical activity confirmed by other news sources as related to this investigation. Is this the moment the case turns?
Welcome to the global phenomenon, Surviving the Survivor. Here's your host, Emmy Award-winning journalist, Joel Waldman.
What's up, STS Nation? Welcome to the global phenomenon, bringing you the very best guests in all of true crime and, of course, breaking true crime news when it happens, and that is what is going on this Friday the 13th, now at 10:43 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are tracking some fast-moving developments tonight in the disappearance of Savannah Guthrie. Of course, she's the host of Today's Show, and the disappearance of her mother, Nancy Guthrie. Authorities confirming that SWAT activity tied to the case is now happening, and it is going on. I've been on the phone with sources of mine, contacts, people I know at different media outlets. I've been watching this for like the better part of the last 3 hours. Let me introduce the guest real quickly here. Detective Phil Ramos, Las Vegas, three-time Officer of the Year, retired homicide, retired from undercover narcotics work as well. We've got David Sarney, the biggest police department in the world, the NYPD, retired detective, and Phil Waters in his position on the screen, retired Houston homicide detective, three cool cats used to some frenetic situations. I'm going to bring up, or the COE is going to bring up, we are monitoring News Nation here, and our good friend Brian Enton. Let's take a live look at this, and then we'll start to break things down. COE, can we bring this up, please?
But it appears this is a significant operation happening here, Kate. Yeah, it looks like it's about to move. Let's see if this is one of the SWAT trucks that's leaving. We're kind of trying to stay around the corner right now just because there's a perimeter set up and we ended up inside the perimeter. So we're just trying to stay out of the way a little bit, Katie.
So, Brian, you're saying that this SWAT vehicle is trying to leave the premises or just move?
I think so. Yeah, here it goes. Can you see it? It looks like, is this one of the SWAT? Yeah, that looks like one of the SWAT cars, trucks that is now.
I'm going to mute for a moment. I just want to set the scene because I've been on the phone with a lot of people today in Tucson. Number one, my closest friend is the meteorologist at KVOA, the chief meteorologist. And obviously you can tell it doesn't rain often in the desert, but it is tonight. So tactically, we'll ask our guests, what does that mean? Is it a good time to go in, a bad time to go in? Brian Enton, our good friend, he has been staked out. No one wants to give up the location here because we don't know the bad person or bad people they might be going after if they have any idea what's going on. You got to think that they're watching television or the news or the internets. But I'm not going to disclose locations other than to tell you that there were two different locations, one on the far west side of northwest Tucson, and then another location that was being discussed on the far northeast side. So sort of polar opposite. I happened to live when I was in Tucson in the area closest to that position in the northeast portion of Enton broke this, not TMZ. Thank you for that. So appreciate you all being here with us. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure which position this is, whether it's the northwest or northeast. I might be able to tell, although you can see how dark the streets are there. And we're going to go back to live audio in a minute, but I want to just go around the horn. Phil Ramos, I've been talking to you all day. What does it tell you? Let's caveat this by saying this is a very fluid situation. It wouldn't surprise me, not because Brian isn't a phenomenal reporter, but there's misinformation. Two people brought out of the house, he is reporting, and are being questioned. It wouldn't surprise me if this is not related to Nancy Guthrie, if we find that out in an hour. But they say it is. So with that caveat, Phil Ramos, what does it tell you on this Friday night, almost 2 weeks precisely tomorrow? They apparently pulled two people out who they are now questioning.
Well, obviously got some pretty good information, and they are acting on it. Probably not any exigent circumstances, but then we never know. It was a sound tactical operation, and that the vehicle that you saw leaving was a SWAT tactical vehicle. So they either SWAT finished their dynamic entry and cleared the house and took the people into custody, and they're in the they detained the people, and they're with the detectives now. And if SWAT decided, you guys don't need us here anymore, or do you need us here, we'll stay. But if they've been cleared from there, then the entry's been made, and the mission is in the middle of what they were doing. They use SWAT as a dynamic entry in a dangerous situation, and they accomplished that.
David Sarney, we'll just go down the ladder here. New York City, obviously, with a lot more inclement weather than a place like Tucson, Arizona. Is there any benefit or detriment to going in on a rainy evening? This is something, obviously, that they're less accustomed to, again, in Tucson than they would be in New York City. But, is there any kind of advantage or detriment to the rain here?
Really, it shouldn't be any, because they're trained in consistent training, constant training that ESU in New York City, and I guarantee you the tactical unit there is doing. So this is nothing unusual for them to handle. It's just, what happened is, obviously it looks like they had to move fast, and that's why you get apparently they got them all prepared. Then they go to the spot, they hit the door, you then secure everybody there, you secure the scene. Whoever's in there gets taken out of that house. You're going to transport them back to the precinct or back to the facility they're going to be interrogated about, because this is obviously some type of move. When we do these dynamic entries and when you're hitting the door, you have something. That doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen just happenstance that you're going to have a TAC unit taking the door from a house. So this could be the break they've been wanting for all the time. I know the sheriff put out the DNA issue earlier this evening. Is this part and parcel to it? Is this part of the other leads that they've had in this investigation? It'll be determined when they talk to these individuals, and anything further they're doing a search warrant on the house, anything that they have, anything along those lines. So it's still fluid. So it'll be figured out once after the scene is settled, the people are back at the office, and then they'll take it from there.
Yeah. They're going in a commercial break. One pet peeve of mine is News Nation's got to advertise they're the only ones there. I just, you don't have to say it's an exclusive. You don't have to say the only ones there. People will know, and they're doing an amazing job. I do also want to just take a half breath, because that's got to be Phil Waters right there. That's like the bozo ring. But if you haven't heard Phil's bozo ring, it's pretty awesome. I just want to thank personally Phil Waters, David Sarney, and Phil Ramos. These guys do this for no pay. I always talk about how these guys live, eat, and breathe this. This is not a job. A lot of people just go to a job. These guys don't have a career, and they're all retired. They have a passion, and I appreciate them just jumping on, spur of the moment. I mean, it's 10:50 on the East Coast. So, guys, whenever you have to jump, you just let me know. But Phil Waters, you have been alongside SWAT, I'm sure, many times when you are extracting a killer who you're then going to interview. How dangerous is a situation like this? What is happening in real time right now?
Well, these are the guys. These are the trained professionals. They're the ones that are trained to do just this very thing. Now, I don't know if they're making a dynamic entry on this residence, and it may be they walked up, they secured it, have communication with somebody inside. Let's come out and let's make this easy as possible. Then on the other hand, if there's some sort of problem doing it that way, then they make a dynamic entry. So I would imagine that we utilize SWAT to execute arrest warrants and search warrants sometimes, depending on the severity of the person or the criminality of the person that we're about to execute the search warrant on. So I don't find this terribly unusual in the way that they're executing whatever it is they're executing. So we don't know if it's a search warrant or if it's an arrest warrant or if it's both. But we've talked about throughout this that there's a strategy in place in the investigation and sifting through all the leads, running those down, doing a triage on those leads, and then taking the evidence and it's leading them to where they need to be. And it's always a journey for the truth. So let's hope that this is in fact related to the Guthrie investigation and they're getting closer, if not have closed in on a possible suspect.
Okay, this is going to be a windy night, guys. There's a lot going on. It's going to be a lot of misinformation. So we're going to try to vet this in real time as we go. Now, that person who I just took a call is a source of mine in Tucson. This is actually, if you remember at the beginning, I said it's either going on the northwest part of town or the northeast. Well, this is actually happening much more centrally located, north of, a little bit north, but kind of splits the difference between the two areas I was telling you about. I have the neighborhood. I don't want to release it because you don't know where the investigation is headed, where the SWAT guys are headed next, and I want to keep the integrity for law enforcement together. So I don't want to tell you the neighborhood, but it is a very nice neighborhood, and it's not far at all, not at all from Nancy Guthrie. It's just a matter of minutes, if that. And what we're hearing right now, and this is from Brian Enton on scene, that two people apparently were pulled from a home. They could be mother and son, it is being described. And then additionally, Phil Ramos, it was a traffic stop made with a third person. So we're talking about three people right now. Again, a lot of these details are likely going to change because it's all happening in real time. People get nutty. The adrenaline is kicking in, and a lot of misinformation flies. But let's assume that the information we're getting in the moment is correct. What would it tell you, Phil Ramos, if it is a potential mother and son pulled from a home and then separately a traffic stop?
Well, they have
One of the SWAT vehicles.
Let's listen into Brian here.
Give us an update on what you're seeing.
Yeah, it's interesting, Katie. The SWAT, it looked like it was leaving, but actually turned around and went back in. So they're all still in there because we haven't seen anyone leave. And there were two big SWAT trucks, just like the one you saw, plus probably another, what would you say, about 10 or 15 law enforcement cars, whether it be the deputies or the FBI. So we're just kind of waiting to see when things start to kind of, simmer down just a little bit because they're all still down there. And as I was telling you, we know that they went in, that two people were brought out, what appeared to be a man and a woman. This is connected to the Nancy Guthrie investigation. I'm also being told there is a search warrant that is happening here, which that is something new, which may explain why they are all still there and don't appear to be leaving. So there's more work being done by law enforcement. And we're just kind of waiting to see what happens next, Katie.
Mr. Holstead, what is the significance of that, and what would they be searching for and looking for in this case?
Well, keep in mind that there's going to be 3 stages to this search warrant. So the SWAT team will show up and give a tactical entry. They're going to make sure the scene is safe and secure. They're going to give an all clear. At that point, then you're going to have the investigative resources show up afterwards once they know it's safe and secure. Then you're going to have CSI and or a recovery or evidence retrieval unit if needed. They're probably on standby as well. So while Brian is there, just because SWAT would depart doesn't necessarily mean it's 100% secure. Please be safe and watch your back while you're out there.
Yeah, Brian, can you describe more of what you're seeing? I know that you talked to us earlier about how 2 people were taken out of the home, a man and a woman. You said it is dark there. Tucson is a dark sky city. It's pitch black without any kind of lights, as you mentioned. But have you seen any other movement of people in and out of the house?
We haven't seen much, and I'm trying to decide when I'm going to get out and go look. I mean, just to be totally transparent with you, we somehow made it into the perimeter, Katie, so we are very close to where this is happening. So I know the minute we start moving around too much, I'm probably going to get kicked out. So I'm trying to be, and I also want to be respectful to law enforcement since we did manage to get so close to this happening. So I haven't seen much else since the 2 people came out. But I'm kind of parked. I'm trying to look around the corner where the SWAT truck came around, but at the same time, I'm trying to like lay low for the moment, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I would say, as Chief Holstead said, I would make sure they know why you're there and what you're doing. Given
COE,
if
Brian comes back, bring up the audio.
Exactly.
Let's leave this
Yeah,
up, but
absolutely,
let me
yes.
talk to the guests, and if
Chief,
Brian talks, we'll bring him
given
back.
the amount of firepower we have here, we have 2 SWAT trucks. Brian mentioned
Okay,
a
here's
number,
Jim
a dozen
Fuda. COE, let's
vehicles,
mute
both
this for a minute.
FBI and Sheriff's Department. Clearly,
If Brian comes back, let's get Brian's reports, but I don't want to be rude or immodest, but we got better best guests, so let's listen to our guests. Jim Fuda here is a friend of mine, also a hostage negotiator from Seattle for 33 years. Hey, Joel, Jim Fuda here. The search warrant could either be for a person, evidence, or both. If they arrest someone at the scene and a perimeter is maintained, it's for both. Phil Waters, jump in here. Someone asked, how long does it take to get a search warrant executed? And Jim Fuda, Steve Cohen can send you a link if you want to hop on. Steve, you're listening. Let's get Jim Fuda a link. Jim has a lot of experience as a hostage negotiator in case a hostage negotiator is needed. But Phil Waters, speak to us about these search warrants, and do you agree with what Jim just said?
Well, yeah, when you put these search warrants together, I mean, sometimes you've already got your facts together, and it's already kind of a developed search warrant, or you may even have a search warrant you've got the framework ready to go, and all you're waiting for is the probable cause to enter into the affidavit. I would imagine on an investigation like this, they've already run one search warrant. I'd be curious to see if it's the sheriff's office that's running the search warrant, that put the search warrant together, or the FBI. Typically, in investigations I've been involved with, in kidnappings in particular, where we have run search warrants and we have the FBI supplementing us and supporting us, the decision is, under my experience, in my experience, has been to run a state search warrant rather than a federal. There's a lot more requirements on a federal search warrant, especially if you're running a search warrant at night. So it is probably it's an easier approach to do the state search warrant. They can be drafted quicker, and they're more expedient in getting them signed by a judge. So I would imagine they're running a state search warrant at this location.
Yeah. David Sarney, earlier in the day, we were not that long ago. And it felt like, the other night when the guy Carlos was detained and SWAT was on the move, there was a palpable energy in the air. Last night was very quiet. Tonight, you've got that zany feeling out there, like stuff is going down. And the feeling here is it's much more legitimate. Again, I'm going to preface this all by saying, if in 2 hours we find out this has nothing to do with Nancy Guthrie, I will not be surprised, because that stuff happens. You get these false starts, totally unrelated, but by all intents and purposes, from what we are seeing and hearing, this is related. And I talked to people on anchor desks in Tucson tonight. I talked to people in newsrooms in Tucson tonight. Talked to people on the street. For those who don't know, I met my wife there, the chief of everything, who produces this show. Both of us are former news correspondents, but so I know the city pretty well. I was there for 5 years or so. But David Sarney, earlier, and just a couple hours ago, maybe if that, it was reported that DNA other than Nancy Guthrie's and those in close contact to her, so DNA outside of she and her family, was located inside the property. Could this be related? Could it be processed that fast? What do you make of that news?
Well, here's the thing about DNA. And when the sheriff said they got DNA, they got results back that it's not the family, they had something. And I think that's why they didn't say anything. When I talk about DNA and DNA substrates, what they probably did is they recovered some DNA on the scene. They were able to eliminate the family. I was speaking to somebody earlier about DNA. Obviously, there might be something with that. There are numerous leads that have been going on, thousands of leads. Is this one of those leads that they're working on? Is it the ransom note? Is it identification? Things like that. If you look at DNA goes in particular ways. When you get a substrate, it could be a match, meaning you have a case-to-case match with no identification. you might have a mixed results. In other words, there's a mixture of DNA where you can't determine anyone's
Brian,
identification.
thanks so much. Okay, for anybody who's just joining us this hour,
Here's Brian.
lay out where you are.
We are going to
I know
cut
you can be
into
limited
Brian
in what
only.
you can say because you don't want to jeopardize an active investigation that's happening, but lay out what you're seeing right now at this hour and what we can expect to see.
Yeah, so we're at about 2 miles, Jesse, maybe a little under 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's house. There is, it's still active, a SWAT operation that was out here. I would say about 24 deputies, FBI agents, 2 big SWAT vehicles from the Pima County Sheriff's Office rolled into this neighborhood. I've lost track of time. We've probably been here for about an hour or so. And I'm told that they were conducting an operation connected to the Nancy Guthrie operation, to the Nancy Guthrie investigation. They went into a home in this neighborhood. They brought 2 people out. It appears that it was a man and a woman. And beyond that, we're just kind of waiting to see what happens next. None of the SWAT vehicles have left yet. None of the deputies have left yet. In fact, only more have arrived since we've been here. And I am told that there may also be a traffic stop that happened around the same time, very close by, that could also be connected to this operation happening here at this house. So there's a perimeter that's been set up around the neighborhood, and we are inside the perimeter, very close to the house. So we're just trying to kind of lay low right now while we just try to stay out of the way and see sort of how this unfolds from here. You know, there was the in Rio Rico, remember I was on your show the other night,
Yeah.
there was it felt very similar, that operation. The same amount of resources, a lot of people. That ended up turning into nothing, it seems. They ended up letting the guy go. So I don't want to, jump to any conclusions here that this is going to be a big break in the case. But at the same time, we do know that this is connected to the Nancy Guthrie investigation. We have confirmed that, Jesse.
And similar to what happened earlier in the week, they're executing a search warrant. For what purposes, what they're looking for, we don't know. But as you and I both know, this can take some time, but clearly a judge had to sign off on this, and there is something there. There is something there they believe is worth looking into. I know you said earlier, I was listening to you on Katie, that you couldn't tell whether or not these individuals were placed in handcuffs or whether or not they were given verbal commands and told to leave. Is there any identifying descriptions you can give of these individuals? Did they appear young? Did one appear older than the other? Were they let's say a mother and a son? Were they did they appear to be close in age? Anything, any identifying information you can give about this woman and man that were let out of the house?
It may have been a mother and a son, is what it appears to me. Again, we're going to have to wait. It's dark out here. It's rainy, which doesn't help. But it appeared to be a mother and a son. And I don't know if they're still here or if there hasn't really been anyone who's really left. So I'm assuming they're still in a squad car or something. When we first got here, I mean, we got here right when the SWAT team got here, and we put the windows down right away just to listen, because sometimes when you get on these scenes, you'll hear flashbangs or you'll hear them on the loudspeaker, telling people to come out. We didn't hear anything like that. There was nothing loud. There was no flashbang. There was no, police saying, come out, put your hands up. So I'm assuming it seems what happened here, they basically surrendered. They came out without any sort of issue from what I can tell, because it's been quiet ever since they got here. But similar to Nancy's neighborhood, it's just so dark. I mean, there's no street lights, and it's kind of difficult to get a detailed look at what's happening, Jesse.
And just to clarify, I mean, you said there might be this simultaneous traffic stop that happened. I am curious about the wait, right? Because there was this idea of you getting word that some operation was taking place, and it didn't happen immediately. So my mind is thinking, okay, did they wait for the execution of a search warrant to go in, or were they waiting for someone to come home? Was there any catalyst that you saw that happened for them to actually remove these individuals from the house? Was there something that changed?
So what happened is we heard earlier through sources that something may go down tonight, and that the SWAT team was staging in a certain location in Pima County. And that means that they all meet in one place that's not at the sheriff's office, and they just wait to get the call. And they got the call. We didn't know if they would, but they got the call. And so that's how we ended up here. I don't know what made them decide to go at that very moment. I suspect it may have, and I gotta, like, when this settles down, I'm gonna start calling my sources again. But
Sure.
just based on the puzzle pieces that I have now, I think it has something to do with the traffic stop. And I think when the traffic stop happened, that somehow gave them the green light to go in.
That's Brian freezing up.
The house here.
Yeah.
But I've still got to iron that part out and how the traffic stop fits in exactly to why they also went into the house or why they're doing the search warrant here.
And have you seen Sheriff Nanos on the scene yet?
I haven't, but that I wouldn't, from my vantage point now, I wouldn't be able to point him out. I mean, there's just so many deputies out here. He was out at the, and I think I told you this last time, he was out at the, when we were in Rio Rico a couple nights ago and something similar happened, he was there. So, and this is much closer, to Tucson. So, I would imagine, if this is serious, he probably has come out here, but I haven't seen him myself.
Okay. And by the way, the reason I ask is because he's been a central figure in this. He was on Elizabeth Vargas' show earlier today. I mean, it seems that the Pima County Sheriff's Office was doing damage control after the report came out that they weren't sharing evidence with the FBI and that the evidence that they collected, including the gloves, was sent to a private lab and not Quantico, and indicated, that they did find some DNA evidence within Nancy Guthrie's house. And as by the way, if you see anything, Brian, or there's any activity, just cut me off. But just to put in perspective about what's happening, this is...
I'm going to mute Jesse. If you hear Brian, we'll go back to Brian. I can tell you some other things going on now. The Pima County Sheriff's Department, Phil Ramos, we'll get back up to you and then work our way back down. The Pima County Sheriff's Department just sent out a message to media. I'm going to read the quote directly here. The media staging area is at the corner of East Orange Grove Road and North Camino de Michael. I don't know Camino de Michael, but East Orange Grove is a big thoroughfare, I believe, going north to south, kind of north of the epicenter of the city. This is not far, about less than 2 miles from where Nancy Guthrie's home is. They say the Pima County Sheriff's Department public information officers are going to meet you at that location. So now I'm starting to have no doubt, and Brian said he confirmed it, that this is in fact related to Nancy Guthrie. And so we've got a staging area. This is all going down less than 2 miles from her house. Again, it's dark and rainy there. And Phil Ramos, apparently 2 different SWAT trucks in use for this. No HRT. What do you make of the 2 SWAT trucks, the mother, son, and the possible traffic stop here?
Well, the 2 trucks are because there was 2 SWAT teams deployed. Each SWAT team has their own vehicle that they use for operations. So for some reason, they felt that they needed 2 full SWAT teams there to cover the front, back, the sides, streets, exits, whatever that is. But the fact that there wasn't a dynamic entry makes it sound like whoever these people were inside were not of adversarial types. So, it could have been very easy as they go knock on the door and say, "Hi, we're the police. We need to come in and please come out."
Phil, hang on one quick second. COE, just so you know, JLR is at the media staging center, and apparently they're going to have a media briefing in the next few minutes. I want to keep this up, but keep an eye on that for us, please. So there's a lot going on. If you're just joining us, SWAT executed a search warrant on at least one home, pulling out what appears to be, according to Brian Anton, a mother and son, and then separately some sort of traffic stop. Didn't mean to cut you off there, Phil. Just finish off your thought process there.
That's okay. As far as the traffic stop goes, if it was related, then I would expect that detectives were there after the traffic stop was made, unless the vehicle that was stopped was a target vehicle and they were just waiting for it to move, and then they pulled it over and got the information they needed and relayed it to the command post and said, "Okay, let's rock and roll." But that's hard to say. We just don't know enough right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a bit of a guessing game. David Sarney, and I mean, this is also just the adrenaline. This has been going on 13 days, and now it looks like there's some serious movement. David Sarney, just speak to the nature of police work. I would never compare myself to you guys, but we move when news breaks, and you guys are very similar in law enforcement. You get a tip, and you move. If you had to guess, how long has this plan that's going down right now been in motion? Is this something that just came together in the last couple of hours? Is it something that you think they were thinking about last night? How's this playing out?
Well, apparently, from what I was hearing, they were mobilizing their SWAT teams, their tactical teams, earlier in the days to get ready for something. So they were already, the wheels were in motion. When you talk about these type of cases, there is a plan. It's not just you just go to a door and take the door, or however you're going to do it. They were probably working on this. That's why when the sheriff said about the DNA, again, this could be any one of the number of leads that got them to this point. When you deal with this investigation, you have a vehicle which had a person there they were looking at. So they could have been a simultaneous stop. Once you stop the guy, let's take the door. I only say taking the door because that's just my vernacular. I'm not saying you have to take it, because search warrants could be in different methods. They could be a no-knock warrant or a knock and notice warrant. We don't know what kind of warrant was issued for this. We don't know what the parameters of what they were given as far as the warrant what's in the warrant or what they're looking for particularly. What you deal with is when you talk about a search warrant, or at least a warrant in general. In narcotics, we did our own search warrants. We actually hit the door ourselves. And then we had knock and notice. So was that the situation here? They just had backup with tactical teams just in case the knock and notice did not go well. That's what you could look at too. But it's always being prepared, because the thing about, we can be ready for a lot of things, but still could be a surprise. That's why there's no flashbangs. I mean, in New York, we're not allowed to use flashbang grenades anymore. Not allowed at all. Has to be by the chief of department. So different ideas coming through, but I'll tell you, this has been in the plans, in the works. That's why the tactical teams were there. That's why they were prepared. They probably had people under observation during this whole time. The sheriff kind of puts out there about DNA being recovered. Whether that's the reason why this is going on now, we won't know until the presser, if they say anything during that press conference.
Yeah, we're gonna keep an eye on that. Hopefully, the COE will get us there. This is goes from strange to stranger. I am not implying that what I'm about to tell you is related to Guthrie, but it's interesting and it's being talked about. Just yesterday, it was revealed that a 26-year-old, and he's in custody, a guy named Leonard Miguel, was arrested on first-degree murder charges, robbery, kidnapping, and sexual abuse of a 60-year-old woman, which really stood out to police, because it's not often that a 26-year-old man is going to kidnap and sexually assault a 60-year-old woman. Again, I'm not saying this is related to this case, but it's something. Phil Waters, do you have to talk to this guy in light of the age of Miss Guthrie? He's in custody right now. Is this something you would have asked him about?
Well, of course. I mean, if there's something that has a lot of similarities in some ways to this particular case, I'm sure they're going to screen people coming into the jail, what they're arrested for, what the charges are, and if there's something that parallels this investigation, it certainly is not going to lose anything by speaking to these people when they come into the jails, into the system. So, yeah, I wouldn't find anything unusual about that if they did in fact interview him.
I mean, I think the only thing that's unusual is he's 26 and he's now in custody on a murder one charge, and also for kidnapping and R-ing a 60-year-old woman, which is oddly eerie considering this story. But Phil Waters, back to you. Apparently, some sources got information, I guess, from people within law enforcement, that there's possibly another home that's going to be hit further along on Tucson's east side. And the only reason I think that might be right is because I know that was the scuttlebutt within the last half hour, that they were actually heading to a different location on the eastern side of Tucson in the foothills. We're already hearing about a mother-son, possibly one other person. Would it surprise you if there was another SWAT takedown in a different part of town tonight? And what would that tell you about what is going on? That would be multiple people that they're pulling in this evening.
Well, it's where the evidence is leading them. I would imagine, I would agree with David. this operation at this point in time has been in place early today. I would not doubt at all. In my experience, they had surveillance on this residence. If that in fact they are going to run a second search warrant, there's surveillance on that residence, and the traffic stop, if it's related to this, what you're seeing here is the operations of standard operating procedures in an investigation like this. So as leads bring them to these crossroads of where they're running search warrants and they have received new information, it may be related to the DNA. We don't know at this point, but obviously there's been something that's occurred in the working, the leads, the processing of the evidence, and it has led them to possibly running two search warrants on the same night with two different. Now, I was going to say two different suspects, but there's a possibility that you've got a suspect who frequents both of these areas, both of these residences. And so they're doing their due diligence and they're going to run the search warrants on both of those locations if you have one suspect. So what you're seeing here is the payoff for just some good, solid detective work.
Yeah, if you're just joining us, the reason STS is back on air is we hop on breaking news, and the COE is now pulling up ABC 15 out of Phoenix, and they apparently have video of this woman described as a mother who was on the ground just a few moments ago. But at least one search warrant was executed. We're hearing two people pulled out of a home, a possible traffic stop, and now word of a possible other home that's either being hit or about to be hit on the east side of Tucson. And I know that area really well because that's where I lived. Very quiet, sort of nice neighborhood, set off on the east side of town. But Phil Ramos, Michael Ruiz with Fox News, another fantastic reporter, he is confirming it as of 22 seconds ago that Pima sheriff's deputies have a road blocked about 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's home, which fits exactly what we just heard. Now, he's being told also that a search warrant has been served. There is no official confirmation, but a local law enforcement says in this case, according to his reporting, one person is detained, not two people. I mean, I know we're not going to, and by the way, people are like, oh, 60 is young. Yes, it is very young. My mother's 86, but relative to a 26-year-old, it's not that young. It's an older woman, I would submit to you. But Phil Ramos, one or two people, he's saying that one person is detained, not two. Just talk to us about the chaos when you're executing a search warrant. I mean, if there was 5 people in that home, let's say, are you going to rip them all out of there just till you figure out who's who and what's what? And then when you shake it all out, you've got one?
Well, you are going to clear the house. SWAT will have cleared the house room by room and checked any place a person could be hiding, closets, under beds, attic access, all of that stuff. And then when they, let out the all clear, then they will exit with whoever they have, and anybody else in there will be escorted out so they can do the search warrant. You don't want people living there sitting in the kitchen while you're doing a search warrant. You want to pull them out of there. You want to pull everybody out of there. So, it's just really early to tell, but the fact that the vehicle, is that a SWAT car? No, that's not a SWAT car.
Nope.
Okay, so they're being very methodical, and at the very least, we can just hope that this series of events is indicative of a very propitious situation, and we'll know, maybe earlier than later.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we're going to get information, and we are. I'll tell you why, because my friends in the media who are in Tucson are all headed to a media briefing, which brings me to David Sarney. David Sarney, when you've got a situation this high profile, this chaotic, you're yanking people out of houses under the cover of night. It's 11:21 here on the East Coast, 9:21 in Tucson, and you're a public information officer. I'm sure the sheriff has got to be on his way if he's not there already. What sort of information can you reveal, and what can't you reveal?
Well, you're going to have, in New York, I'll just say we have DCPI, Deputy Commissioner of Public Information. We have officers that do that. They're going to get a very short briefing of what they're going to have. It may be written out for the chief or the sheriff. It may discuss these issues, discuss what's going on, and it'll be up to the press information officer to limit the amount of questions based on the information they have. And we start everything out. Everything right now is preliminary and always subject to change. That's how we always start our pressers. And I think that should be the same way here, where you're not going to give them everything. You're going to say, today we did A, B, C, D questions. Whatever questions should be related to the A, B, C, D factor. You're not going to give any more information that you have. Again, this is a fluid thing. You did one door, you're going to do another door. Would that second door lead to a third door? Do you have everyone you're looking for, that the reason why you got this warrant? Or is everybody that you have in custody that you're looking for? Are there people that are outstanding? You may not want to give the information about names, addresses you're hitting, any of that. So it's still going to take time, but if you're pressed information, you limit the questions, you keep everything subject to change, you keep it to the 4 or 5 points that you have, bullet points, and you leave it at that. Because again, you're going to have a lot of speculation. We don't want everyone running around. And I'm not talking about the police department. The agencies are going to do their job as they always do. We don't want the public to be in any rancor or upset. Why don't we get information? The reality is, we'll give you information as we see fit. And again, it is always subject to change, especially about 40-something minutes after a search warrant is conducted. They're going to have also limited information also.
Phil Waters, thank you for that, David Sarney. You got 3 veteran, and I mean veteran detectives that have seen it all. And COE, I don't know if we still have Brian Enton's feed capability. If he gets back on, I would like to dip into his reporting. Brian's a friend of ours and arguably the best reporter out there, who always happens to be in the right place at the right time. Sounds like he's caught in the middle of this perimeter right now, which they're on a commercial. Okay, just bring it back when he's up. But Phil Waters, another thing I can tell you is going on right now. Multiple police jurisdictions are responding. Now, Tucson is kind of intertwined with a lot of small towns that, if you live there, you say I'm from Tucson, but Oro Valley is one of them. Sahuarita is another. They are all converging in this area. They are blocking off roads. Some reporters I know cannot get through roadblocks. That's why Enton got lucky in a way getting into this perimeter. And a statement, at least to start, a statement is expected momentarily. What does it tell you when other police jurisdictions from all around Tucson are now converging on this small area of Tucson?
Well, they're bringing those people in, I would imagine, to establish perimeters, to establish roadblocks, and supplement the operation as it's going along. So those folks are going to be there in support. They're not, I wouldn't think, being taken an active role in the search warrants themselves. But you're going to marshal the people you
Nancy
need
Guthrie,
to
not
get
clear
there
how this is connected
execute
to
this
Nancy
thing the right
Guthrie in
way.
what way, not clear. But this is progress. This is a day of progress. This comes on
Let's
the heels
listen in for one
of
moment.
authorities saying they found
Sorry,
DNA in Nancy's house. They sent it out to be testing. They found gloves. There is additional footage of potentially a suspicious character. So this is very, very interesting that it's happening at this hour. And we have just learned as well that the Pima County Sheriff's Office, the PIO, is coming to the scene. We do not have an idea on when that is going to happen, but we should be prepared for a possible impromptu press conference that is happening here of some kind. And that would be a major, major development. We are also learning that there may have been a traffic stop that was connected in conjunction with this SWAT operation. As soon as we get that video, we are going to play it for you live on the air. So a lot is happening at this hour. I want to bring in, for some perspective, criminal defense attorney Mark Garagos and retired lieutenant commander with NYPD.
Hey,
thank you both so much for coming on.
Bugs, I'm gonna mute these guys. Mark Garagos is no match for Phil Waters, David Sarney, and Phil Ramos. With all due respect to Mark Garagos, I love the guy. He's been on my show. He knows nothing about investigations the way these guys do, which is why we have the best guests in all of true crime. Thank you, STS, for being on top of this. Sure thing. Phil Ramos, let's go back up around the horn here. Noticeably, what we haven't seen yet, are any feds. Now, we've got, basically 2 or 3 different shots, so we're not seeing all the action at one time, but we haven't seen the FBI, at least not yet. What does that tell you, if anything? Because there's been this, kind of heated battle back and forth about, whether or not Chris Nanos, the sheriff, is allowing the FBI to be part of this investigation.
I don't think it means anything. We don't know what agencies were there at the house waiting for SWAT to clear the house. FBI could have been very well a part of that. Just because we haven't seen them out there with their jackets on with the FBI logos doesn't mean that they're not there. What it does mean is that all the people that are at this house were there for a reason, and the two people that they took out and detained, we just remains to be seen whether it was FBI or the sheriff's department or whoever it may be. But the lead investigators, Pima County, is going to be the ones that are handling those interviews with those people. If they're interviewing them, it may be that it had nothing to do with the people in there. They just may be inside the house pursuant to the search warrant, looking for very specific items. And they'll interview these people and explain to them what they're doing and tell them what they're looking for. And the rest of that is just we got to wait and see.
I really want to be mindful of your guys' time. If any of you are tired or have to bounce, just let me know. Phil seems like he's taking a call. And then we'll rotate you out. I know Steve Cohen is listening. So Steve, I'd get some people on deck at some point, but obviously love for you to all stick around. But if you need to, just let us know and we'll make it happen for you. White van is reported to be part of this. Is it actually? Phil's probably going on to do News Nation right now. Wouldn't be surprised. And if he is, we'll take it because he's the best guest. Thank you, STS, for keeping us all informed. That's what we try to do here. If you're new to to Surviving the Survivor, we do a live panel show Monday through Thursday, every day of the week on the top cases. Fridays is reserved for my co-host, my mother, 86 years young, oldest true crime podcaster in America. Phil Ramos, let me just go back to you on this again. You heard News Nation and Jesse Weber there saying that a PIO is on the way down. I would hope that the sheriff himself, who's really the ultimate spokesperson for this department and the leader on a case this high profile, this big, okay, COE, on a case this big, would show up to make a statement and not rely on his public information officer. Am I being hard on him, or do you agree with me?
No, yeah, I agree. If this was major development, if there were, people on their way to jail for the murder or whatever, then the sheriff would certainly be there. But the fact that the PIO is going to handle the press release tells me that it may not be as over the top as we were hoping it would be. We'll just have to wait and see. But generally, when it's a major,
okay, so my apologies. It's just
the sheriff that should be doing the press release, but maybe he's a little tired of that and having his PO handle it. But it just tells me that it's not going to be as major as we would hope, or else he would do it.
I know exactly where that Culver's is. I know exactly where this is. I'm going to unmute for a second here. Oh, and you know what? I can't unmute in the COE.
That would tie into this because remember there was reports of a white van at the beginning of this. So you want to, maybe that's one of the leads they have to go down. What I wanted to say was you had a perfect guest on and you have a great guest on right now that can compare this to another great case that was worked, which was
apparently the white van
case. And as Mr. Garagos knows, and as John knows, that there were people that were saying, oh, well, what about this direction? And the detectives had to go in that direction and just say that, no, it wasn't this because we ran that lead down as well. And that's what has to be done in the case.
Wasn't that the van that we just saw pulling out?
Yeah, it was. It looked like it, right, Ramos? It looked just like it. That's exactly what I was thinking. We're back muted because there's some audio issues on their side. David Sarney, let me come to you now. We live in an age of cyber sleuths, which I know drives you guys crazy trying to do your job. And the COE is switching over here to get us some new shots, so stand by. But already the home that was hit, I'm not going to, the name is out in the public, but it is owned by an individual whose name is out there already. Apparently this person is an attorney working for the Arizona Attorney General, and they believe it is likely an Airbnb. In other words, it's not him. He owns it and operates it as an Airbnb. That's interesting in and of itself, because if you're holding somebody or kidnapping somebody, you wouldn't do it necessarily in your own home. You might want to rent an Airbnb. Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, we talk about safe houses. When you grab somebody, you already planned where you're gonna go. If you're doing an abduction, you have to plan where you're gonna place that person. So that's a thing that you're looking at. When it comes to internet sleuthing, and I look at Reddit, I was looking at some of the Reddit things, and you're seeing a lot of then the conspiracy theorists come into play. I understand the need to know. I understand why they do what they do. And it's always about, and my concern has always been the pitchforks and torches that come out with the information that they have. We as investigators, and Phil would say that, and we all say this, we believe this full-heartedly. We go by facts. We don't go by feelings or circumstance. We have to get the totality of circumstances to get this. So sometimes internet sleuthing puts names out there, puts faces out there. It's this one, it's this one. And the court of public opinion has that's where the torches come out and the pitchforks and let's go get this guy. That's not how we work. We work according to the criminal justice system. And if we understand that, that's why this is a painstaking, arduous task. It's been almost 2 weeks that they've been doing this because it's been taking time. The area itself is massive. You're dealing with a case that had a 10 to 12 hour range of leaving. Now, could this be there's a white van now? Is everything coming into play right now? We don't know. I will tell you, the investigators know, the sheriff probably knows, the FBI knows what they're getting all together. If this culminates to what we're hoping is, that will be great. But as an investigator, we wait to figure out if all of this will tie in based on our facts. And that's why the search of the house, the taking people into custody, they're going to be interrogated. If they're not going to be held, I'll just use New York thing, and I've done search warrants a lot. We'll take everybody back to the house and we'll void the arrest. In other words, they're with us. The arrest is voided. We can send them back home, whatever they want to do. Whoever stays is what is going to be the subject. We're locked up and we're going to interrogate them. We may interrogate those people who were at the residence just to find out what they know about what's going on. So it's fluid. You freeze the sets are going to be frozen. The car stop is made. That's frozen. Now the investigative prowess comes in.
Okay. So the two people thank you, David. The two people who were brought out, it's unclear if one or both of them are detained. COE, we're expecting a press briefing any moment. Let's take a look at this.
And so it may be that Marana PD is assisting with that.
Avra Valley's again, north.
We just don't know that. That's why the communication with the media is so important. Yeah. So we're speculating, but there has been activity not just in this place, a couple of miles from the Guthrie home, but up in the Marana Avra Valley area as well.
We
Interesting.
Are aware and have been made aware over our time here of a name of a person who may have a tangential connection, who is from Marana, we believe. We obviously will not be talking about that name. We are not here to speculate. We're here to tell you the facts as we know them on the ground now. And the facts are that police have blocked off this street about 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's house in the Catalina foothills. And Fox News Digital is now being told by one law enforcement source that one person has been detained. Now, we heard reports earlier, and this is why we're being careful with all the information we give you, that 2 people had been removed from their house. Now, that doesn't mean, obviously, that 2 people end up being detained.
Steve, I know you're listening. Let's try to get a third
person. Randy, always.
Well, we have one person detained. It's funny. Phil texted me. Phil is going off to do News Nation right now. He had made a commitment. If anything broke, he might be coming back. And Steve Cohen is working to get a few more people. And he got a good one for us. Chris Anderson of the First 48 Birmingham is running for sheriff in his area of Birmingham, Alabama, is going to be hopping on as a best guest here. Another very veteran homicide detective. Not saying that this is a homicide, but homicide was called in at one point. But Phil Ramos, let's go back here from a broader perspective. You look back to the Brian Kohberger case, right? Everyone was given heat to the local police department. They don't know what's going on. They're never going to find this guy. 7 weeks go by. Same exact thing. Chris Nanos getting destroyed. He doesn't want to play nice with the FBI. They have nothing. They've got nothing. And then boom, Friday the 13th, an explosion of activity. Are you surprised that they appear to have a lot more information than anyone knew or expected to have at this point?
Oh, no, not at all. We've all been saying that there's a lot more information that they've got from the House and from other places where they've gotten evidence and tips. I mean, I fully expected that, and I think we've all concurred that this little tidbits that they're throwing out are just to, satisfy the media. It's and you can bet that that's going to continue until somebody's in jail, and that's just the way it is, man. We just can't tell everybody everything, and I wanted to jump in and clarify things on search warrants, because a lot of people have a misunderstanding about a search warrant. When you prepare a search warrant, you have to prepare an affidavit for your search warrant. In that affidavit, you have to articulate what it is you're looking for, why you're looking for it, and explain the circumstances of why you want the search warrant. You can't just go to a judge and say, hey, sign this search warrant so we can go into that house. The judge is going to say, what are you looking for? Oh, anything. And the judge is going to kick you out of his office. You have to tell the judge what you're looking for, and you can only look in areas where the things you're looking for may be. In other words, you're not going to look for an AR-15 in a bread box.
Yeah. Let me hop in there real quick, Phil, because it's triggering a memory. We're about to start covering the Corey Richens case, where she's accused of poisoning her husband with 5 times the lethal dose of fentanyl. They executed a search warrant and took everything out of the house, and her defense attorney said, whoa, what's going on here? And I think that they got some of that evidence suppressed. So, Phil, also talk about how you are constantly keeping your eye on a potential trial while investigating a case. It's not just about the case in front of you, but about the legal system ahead of you.
Yeah. You always hear me say you got to think like a bad guy, think like a criminal. Once you get focused on what you're doing, you also have to think of a criminal defense attorney. What is this going to do to the case? And is the attorney going to attack this that you're doing? Is the attorney going to attack that? Well, they're going to attack everything, but that's why you have to play by the rules and make sure that everybody else is playing by the rules, because you don't want to give the defense any advantage or anything to look at. So that's a matter of being very thorough and being consistent with how you do things, and your professionalism is called into play, because once we have a saying out here that if you have a good case, the defense attorney can't attack the evidence, so they're going to attack the evidence collectors. And we saw that in OJ. They beat up the cops in OJ for just their reputations. I mean, they were talking about what some guy did in high school, trying to discredit him. They're just trying to get the jury to say, well, we can't believe what this guy's saying about the evidence, because they can't fight the evidence, so they fight the evidence collectors.
We welcome to the show the man, the future sheriff in his area of Birmingham, Alabama, Chris Anderson, who you might recognize from the show First 48. Chris, thanks for hopping on. Appreciate it. A lot of people were beating up on this sheriff, and there's a big argument over the feds versus Pima County. But what we know tonight is search warrants are being executed, and SWAT's rolling around Tucson. There's reports of a mother and son yanked out of a house, 1 or 2 detainees there. There's reports of another. That's the sketch, by the way, that was done by that sketch artist, unless it's new, from the Houston Chronicle that I was talking about last night. I don't know if that's who. Yeah, this is the unofficial sketch. This is the woman that Phil Waters knows, Lois. I don't remember her last name, but she's a sketch artist for 43 years. She took a shot at it. I don't know how she did it, because she was working off of the Nest camera footage where the guy was fully covered up. That's her. That's that woman, Lois. But Chief Anderson, what do you make of all this activity tonight? No one had any faith in this Pima County Sheriff's Department, but it looks like they had a lot more actionable information than some of us believed.
Yeah, so if y'all can hear me okay, I didn't have a chance to check my mic, so I thought everything.
You sound good, man. That voice is like Barry White, silky smooth. Go ahead.
Well, thank you, sir. Yeah, so it just I'm sure everybody on this live, and even that we never know exactly how much evidence or information we have in investigations. It doesn't pay for us in law enforcement to let the public know every bit of information that you have when you're investigating these cases. So, you know, I've been on cases, I've had cases, I've led cases where we are just currently investigating the case, and it's where we have to have the public's help. So we're going to piecemeal certain information that we can put out in the public to get a little bit of help. But 9 times out of 10, that's only a very, very small portion of the evidence that we've collected or information we already have on these cases. We may be running on, 15, 20 other things while we're putting that one small piece of evidence out there. So yeah, it just, that's standard police work. You don't let the public know everything because the suspects are also listening to the information that's being shared. And, it only hurts the investigation, or it puts them that much further when they know every single thing that law enforcement is doing in cases like this. So it's good to see. It's good to hear that they are making some moves. I mean, it may be everything in the case, or it may be something small or minute, or just another piece of the case that you have to investigate because, like I said, completing the investigation, I'm praying that she's found safe and sound. That's only a small portion of it. There's still a prosecution that has to be done, and you should never go into an investigation without thinking about the end results.
Thank you for that. Monica Garcia, who works at KVOA, the local NBC, they're waiting for an update. You can see the media gathered there on the left. Photo on the left, it's dark, and Tucson is a dark place, but you can see that huge media presence. And I don't think, at least not since the Gabby Giffords attempted assassination, which I covered, have you seen a media presence like this in Tucson? Everyone was there for that. That was huge for obvious reasons. Now, again, Michael Ruiz, Fox News Digital, with some more information. Apparently, Phil Ramos, David, let me go to you. I'm sorry, because I skipped over you before. But after receiving a tip, this is coming off of a tip, according to Michael Ruiz, authorities moved in and detained these 2 males. Now they're saying 2 males and one of their mothers. What's interesting to me here, first of all, we're adding another person because they said one man and possibly his mother. Now they're saying 2 men and one of their mothers. But this is apparently coming from a tip. How does that change the calculus, if at all?
Well, it had validity to it. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to mobilize or attempt to mobilize your 2 tackle teams and get search warrants. So obviously, this tip had legs. When I talk about legs, I'm talking about they worked on it. They saw some things that were accessible to them. They did their due diligence. They looked up what they needed to look up. They developed something where they developed some sort of probable cause to get these search warrants. That's what you're looking at. You're not getting a search warrant without probable cause. So that tip obviously was valid enough for them to get search warrants and have this detention. And like I said, detention is pretty much an arrest. I mean, that's really what comes down to. They're not free to leave. They're in custody. They're going to be brought back to their command, and they're going to be interrogated just how it's going to be. Whether they keep the mother, if that's we've talking about the mother, there's a female involved. Do they keep her? And again, this is things about investigators. If you're looking at 3, if you have 3 people, she's the least culpable. There's your edge on dealing with these 2 individuals. If one of them's related to them, their mom, there's your big thing right there. There's your ticket. We could talk to you about these things, but I don't know if we put your mom in this. You want to know what we can do about it. So that's the investigative interrogation side of it. But they had enough. They obviously had enough to do what they're doing now, and that's why you could see the legs and see how. I mean, this is a very mobile situation, a very high profile in a sense case. And also, you're talking about now you have your press information is going to be there. So they know there's something here. They got them to this. So the search warrant's going to are being done. And we will see what they say at the presser. And I guarantee you it should be very limited, the ABCD, like I said earlier. But this something is beneficial because you got a search warrant for the last person. You got 2 search warrants for this. So they're getting information that is culpable on these individuals that they were doing something that allowed the probable cause for these warrants to be signed and executed.
All right. COE, you got to help me out here. I know we have another guest. Is that guest ready to come in? If so, I'll let you bring the guest in. Greg, I see you. We're going to try to get you in if you hear me. COE will bring him in when he is ready. But Greg Yovane, just so you know, is a retired NYPD detective who is also a hostage negotiator for 34 years. We're going to try to bring him in. These are the best of the best. Also, COE, I don't know if we have lost our feed to News Nation or if that's being done intentionally, but I would love to continue to hear what Brian has to say, if that is possible. Getting more information as this night unfolds. Phil Ramos, according to the police scanners, and you know us media people, we listen into you guys on these police scanners, which are open channels, and there's been a request for a search team and canines. What does that tell you when you're calling in search teams and canines to these areas?
It depends on what their search teams are. I would think that they were the evidence collectors themselves, like what we call CSIs out here. The detectives would have been the one that was doing the actual search unless they come under some special circumstances and decide to call their search team. As far as the canine goes, my first guess is maybe he's a dope dog and they're going to run the dope dog to the house, or a scent dog, or, God forbid, a cadaver dog. Those 3 different disciplines, 3 different dogs. You can't have a cadaver dog and a scent dog in the same dog. They're looking for different scents. They're trying to find different scents. So it all depends on which model of dog you have coming out there.
I am just so you know, I am doing my best to absolutely pay as much attention as possible, but I'm also looking for breaking information on a night with a crazy amount of breaking news. If you are just joining us, this is Surviving the Survivor. We do this live show no matter what, every Monday through Thursday to 7 o'clock on the biggest stories, and Fridays at 1. David Sarney, the other night, and Greg, I'm coming to you in just a moment, but the other night, this guy Carlos was detained. He was released. I'm not saying that's going to be the case here. Do you want to be more certain in light of that this guy was detained and released, that tonight you're not taking 3, 4, 5 people down and then they're all going to be released tomorrow? Because that will leave a bitter taste in the public's mouth.
Yeah, the optics would be bad. But here's the thing. They have enough on this tip to do what they're doing now. And I see Greg. I know Greg for a while back in the day. How you doing, Greg?
All right.
How you doing, player?
Hey, Greg, can you lower your monitor a little, or if you're on a laptop, so we can see your face? That handsome face is being obscured. But go ahead, David Sarney.
Yeah, you can't worry about the media's optics. You can't worry about the public's optics. You're doing the job, and we don't want to see people being released. If we had enough to get to this level, this probable cause to get that search warrant. That's the thing. Is a search warrant for persons? Is a search warrant for property? Is a search warrant for the location? And they're just there. That's why you take people into custody. That's why you freeze the location. You pull people, extract those people out, make sure it's safe. They go back to your office. And however that's going to happen there, whether or not they are part and parcel to that search warrant, will be found out later on the media side. But I'll tell you now, the investigators are doing what they're doing now. They've got probably a team of people down there getting ready to get things down, the lead detective especially, to get there, get yourselves prepared, because if this is where you're thinking it's going, you want to make sure all your I's are dotted, T's are crossed. So when you do sit in that box in the interrogation room, you're going to be able to talk to these people and find out what happened on any end. And I'm not saying this is the be-all, end-all of the case, but you have a lot of things. Again, it's moving parts in this. There's 13 days of information, thousands upon thousands of tips. If this tip, a judge believed this tip was valid enough to execute warrants, then there's something to it. Whether the persons that are detained are part of that search warrant will determine as this goes.
Yeah. Greg, there you are. I was looking for you. 34 years. I don't know if you're a hostage negotiator the entire time with NYPD. You don't know how this night's going to unfold. It looks like they yanked 2 or 3 people out of a house. There's been a traffic stop. There's word they're heading to another house. If they say, Greg, get over here, we're going to need you. How do you prepare? How are you trained if you have to negotiate someone out of a home, particularly if they're holding, and let's hope this is the case, a living 84-year-old woman?
Well, at least we might have a location, right? So in the last week and a half, they were holding the cards. Like in a normal negotiation, you're talking to somebody, you know what building they're in, you know what apartment they're in, you know what house they're in. Negotiations are going well, you know, you can talk these people out. If they're not going well, okay, then we send in a tactical team to go in and get them. Here in this, for the last week and a half, there was no threat to them because we didn't know where they were. This is a different situation now. So what we would do, obviously, time is on our hands. We can speak to these people, see if we can get through, and do a negotiation. At least we know we have a location now.
Yeah, I mean, no one here does what you do, and people I think are really intrigued. I've got a friend, Jim Fuda, who's a hostage negotiator for about as same time as you in Seattle. But if there was some sort of barricade situation, I'm not saying that there is necessarily with this. Where do you begin with somebody, or is it just completely dependent on each individual case?
Well, as any case, you got to have a field team working that's doing all the intel and letting you know what is going on. You can't just go in it and wing it. You got to know what you're talking about, right? So you step in, and it's kind of like I don't know, like you just start talking, okay? And if they're willing to talk to you, then you're ahead of the game at that point. You listen to what they have to say, and we all know that in negotiations, it's active listening, right? Okay, you just got to pay attention, listen to what they say, and just respond. Give them a sense that you're here to help them, not only to get them out of there and apprehend somebody. You're their only means of maybe help. You know what I mean? So it's more listening, and I'll get back to you. We'll figure it out, calming them down. This whole situation is stressful and tense. So calming them down is a very big thing.
Chris Anderson, Ice Baby, I have not confirmed this, but let's assume again, for the sake of argument, that this is true, that forensic trucks are on scene, like crime scene trucks. What does that say about this scene?
You know, it could suggest a lot. And I was noticing that you had those trucks that I saw driving down the scene. Those look like crime scene trucks. Having those trucks on scene could say a lot. You know, I don't want to speculate, but you don't. How can I put this? On just regular search warrants, there are times where you could have an evidence team come in. Certain times, sometimes you don't. So you know, I hate to speculate why they would be on the scene. If they are there, they are needed. They were probably standing by. So yeah, you know, it could mean a lot. In a case like this.
Phil Ramos, now we're getting word, and this is ABC 15, courtesy of them here. And again, the COE, I think News Nation's having some issues in terms of their live feed, probably because so many people are jumping on it right now. They're actually trending on X, and maybe Brian Enton deserves a raise. I will publicly proclaim that. But Phil Ramos, now we're hearing there's not going to be an actual press briefing and just a statement being, you see those look like crime scene type trucks. Phil, what are those going in there right now?
Yeah. It's just like Chief Chris was saying. Those are forensic. That could be their evidence collection team that we were referring to earlier, and I would say that that's exactly what they are. One may be a canine unit, but usually canine units have that decal on their door, unless they're the dope dogs or the cadaver dogs. And then those other vehicles are detective vehicles, and so there's obviously something developing inside that house that requires forensic evidence collection. You know, that could be starting dusting for fingerprints to collecting latent DNA to all kinds of things. You know, like Chris said, it's hard to guess. You really don't want to go out there and speculate without knowing more of what they found inside that house. But obviously, they found enough to call a search team. Space Coast, if this reporter gets going, let's listen into her. This is the local ABC 15 station. If she starts reporting, let's bring her up. I'd like to listen to that. David Sarney had a bounce, retired NYPD detective, but you got the chief from Birmingham, Alabama. And we've got Greg, is it Yovane? Greg Yovane.
It's Giovanni.
Oh, Giovanni. Oh, okay, thanks for the correction, Giovanni. I appreciate that. But Phil Ramos, let's just go back to what I was asking a second ago. This written statement expected, no press briefing. To me, that says we're still figuring things out. We're not ready to make some big formal announcement. We're not ready to take any kind of victory lap. Is that what it suggests to you? Yeah. It's maybe they just hit a single or a double, but they didn't hit a home run or a grand slam. That's what it tells me. It's not enough of information to have a live presser like that, and it's certainly not enough to have the sheriff out there. So, we're a couple levels down from what it could have been, but still, it's a major development in my view because of the evidence team and the amount of time that they're taking to be there. The one thing that I would caution people to not think that Nancy is related to this is that we haven't seen any medical vehicles there. So, Phil, hang on one sec. COE, can we bring up Phil Waters or Space Coast if that's you?
A victim in this.
This is our own Phil Waters now.
Had visual identification of Nancy at this location. What are your thoughts?
Well, my experience tells me and gosh, I hate even saying this. I question whether or not Ms. Guthrie was removed from the residence alive. So, and now we're so far out, and with all of her health concerns, I mean, it's a horrible, I don't even like talking about it because it's just such a horrible situation. So I'm just speaking from experience here on these kinds of things.
Yeah.
The goal here now is to find her, whatever that condition may be, and then find the right person who's done the wrong thing and make sure there's a measure of justice here and brings about some peace for the family.
Now, I will tell you this.
This is buffering a little. Let's keep it up for a sec. This is Jesse Weber interviewing our own best guest, Phil Waters.
I'm comforted by what Sheriff Nano says when he says they believe that she's alive, they want her back. I hope you're wrong, Phil, but this is such a complicated case.
I do too.
It is taking 180s every 5 seconds. And look, I covered something very similar the other night where there was a person being detained, turned not to be anything. We are keeping very careful eye, and we're actually going to extend our coverage now for another hour because we want to see what is going to happen here in Pima County. So let's talk about it. So if you're just joining us, Jesse Weber Live. This is live coverage right now of a breaking development in the Nancy Guthrie case. We have learned about an exclusive SWAT operation. Exclusively, we've learned about a SWAT operation at a location.
I want to see if they go to Brian and everyone.
Let's stick around for another minute or two. 13 days in, we are being told 2 individuals were removed from that property, that the property is being searched pursuant to a search warrant, that this property is being searched also in connection with a traffic stop that happened earlier tonight. And we learned that a man who was detained during a traffic stop, believed to be connected to this SWAT operation, was believed to be on his way to the home where this operation happened at the time of the stop. We don't know if he was arrested. We don't know if he was taken into custody. To repeat, we do not know more details about why this operation is happening. We did get word, and we did see forensic trucks leaving the scene. And by the way, this is exclusive footage we obtained of that traffic stop. I noted before, you see that white van, right? There were reports about potentially a suspicious white van in Nancy Guthrie's neighborhood before her disappearance. We don't know if that is what led to this traffic stop, but something to keep in mind. And although there were reports earlier on that there was going to be a press conference, or at least the public information officer from the sheriff's department was going to be on the scene, we have just gotten word from the sheriff's department there will be no press conference tonight. There is going to be a written statement that will be forthcoming. As soon as it comes in, we'll make sure to read it on the air. Brian Enton is on the ground there. He's within the perimeter. As soon as we get an update from him about what he's seeing, what he's hearing.
Oh, I'm going to mute Jesse and COE or Spacey. I'm not sure which of you there is. By the way, we're a team of 4. If you go to News Nation, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, or MS Now, they've got 1,000 people working in those buildings. There's 4 of us doing this, and kudos to our team. We got the best team and the best community in all the YouTubes. Chief, back to you. So we just heard a little bit of a breakdown here. 2 individuals pulled out of the house. There's also talk about the mother of one of them. And then there's this traffic stop that was done on that white van. And it is believed, according to this reporting we just heard, to be the case that whoever was driving that white van was heading to this house where these 2 people were yanked from it. What does that tell you? They got some sort of actionable information from whoever they pulled over, I think.
Yeah, you're exactly right. My experience tells me that after that traffic stop and after the interrogation that more than likely followed, they were able to develop some information, and it had to be some sort of credibility to that information because if they were able to obtain a search warrant from a judge. So they executed that search warrants. Search warrants, we don't, in law enforcement, we prefer not to do search warrants late at night unless they are some sort of exigent circumstance. So that information had to have been credible enough to number one, obtain a search warrant from a judge, and B, be credible enough that they needed to execute it as soon as possible. So there's a lot of moving parts in that has to happen for that to happen. The information had to be very credible. And of course, my experience tells me that Ms. Guthrie has not been found. Otherwise, they would be doing a press conference tonight to quell some of the fears in that area and across the nation. So,
Greg Giovanni. Here's Brian. Let's listen in. This is Brian.
Yeah, we actually just got moved back, Jesse, there was a whole contingent of FBI agents that came in. I'm talking like, what would you say, Mo, 10 FBI cars that just arrived. So it seems none of the deputies or FBI that went in when we first got here have left. So there's even more law enforcement now. I don't know what that means. Perhaps this is more serious than they initially thought, but a whole contingent of FBI agents just arrived at the scene, Jesse.
And they moved you back. I mean, I have to ask you, you were first allowed within the perimeter for quite some time. Did they give you a reason about why you had to move back and what might be going on?
So, just to be totally honest with you, we were trying to be responsible. We've been following the SWAT team. We were the first ones there. We were right there, and we were just, sort of minding our own business. And I think they finally figured out that we, were media, and they said, hey, you guys got to get out of here. So I kind of knew that was going to happen eventually. And it happened. And so now we got moved out.
Well, listen, you were the first on the scene reporting this. It was pretty incredible. Correct me if I'm wrong. Besides the FBI presence, I saw forensic trucks going, leaving. I mean, what other things have you seen in terms of, because that's telling. That's telling. It gives an idea about what they might be searching for or collecting.
Yeah, we've learned that they are doing a search warrant at the house. So obviously that's probably why you saw the forensics trucks. And I saw more of those two coming in that looked more like the FBI ones, although it's dark. It was hard to tell for sure. And we know that a man and a woman were brought out of the house, and that there is another man that was stopped at a traffic stop close by. And it all seems to be connected. We're trying to piece it all together. Granted, I don't know that all of these people are the targets or the people that law enforcement want to question connection to Nancy Guthrie. They may have just, they may have just been in the house. So we're trying to sort that out, but it seems, it's they're still here. And when we just got moved back, the deputy said, I said, are they going to be here for a long time? He goes, oh, they're going to be here for a long time. So it seems like, this could go on all night here in terms of the search and the investigation.
Again, eerily similar to what we saw the other night. For people who don't know, can you give us an idea? And I know you have to be sensitive to the operation. Can you give us an idea about what this neighborhood is, its location, its geography, and in comparison to where Nancy's house is?
Sorry, I just lost you. Let me call.
No worries. We're going to get Brian back up.
Leave this up, guys. Leave this up, please. I got yelled at for not saying please the other night, but breaking news. Sometimes I lose my manners. Please leave this up, COE and Space Coast. When Brian Enton is back, let's go to it. Greg Giovanni is 34 years with the NYPD and worked as a hostage negotiator, but he knows everything about everything. There's also reports here, and that is our own Phil Waters. We'll dip back into that in a minute, but let's get some of our own analysis. Now, there are reports on social media, Greg, and I have no way to confirm this, that there's also, in addition to like forensic units there is a medical examiner truck from the ME's office. That doesn't sound very good, Greg Giovanni. If that is true, what does that tell you? You have to unmute yourself, Greg. I'm sorry. Unless I can do it for you. I can't do it. Yeah. See if you can unmute. Oh, there you go. You're good.
Okay. Yeah, could you just repeat that for me, please? Now.
Yeah, if there's a medical exam, an ME truck there, what does that say? What does that portend about the situation?
Well, we're getting into this thing. We may have a crime scene going on here. Okay. Listen, we're going to be here all night probably, because I think this is just starting with what you're telling me now. So. Yeah, I'm surprised this whole scene is going to be roped off pretty soon, I think, or even now.
Yeah, and you just heard Brian Enton just got pushed out of there. He happened to be in the perimeter. But Greg, explain why you. I mean, it's obvious, but explain why you don't want a Brian Enton in your vicinity of your work there.
Well, because they don't want anything leaking out. If anything, if he hears something, what's going on. You know how the media is. They want to put it out there. Okay, if put it out there too soon, we don't have all the facts yet, and we don't want to. Let's say there's more people that are not at this location. Okay, that we can get a hold of, if possible, and that may hurt the situation inside that location. I mean. We've got to be nice right now, okay, in order for us to go on. So let them do their job inside, and it's probably going to lead us to somewhere else. Okay.
Yeah. Greg, I'm from Jersey, so anytime I get a New Yorker, I feel right at home, and I love the way you're okaying me. I love it. From Art here, awesome coverage. Thank you so much. Back to the chief here. We'll work our way up the ladder now. Someone says this might be a hoax. I sure hope not. I mean, anything is possible. Chief, we're always going to get these conflicting reports. Fox News now saying one person has been detained. But let's go over what Brian was talking about. Brian says that they got moved back, and in the interim, at least 10 FBI vehicles came in, and none of the deputies have left. Let's start there. There is a massive presence forming in this area of Tucson. Does it sound like they possibly have found her? We don't know if it's she's alive or not, but does it sound like there's a possibility that she could be in this home?
After hearing that there is a medical team on standby, I kind of want to reframe some of my last answer.
Yeah, that's a maybe, though. We don't know for
yeah.
sure. That's what's being reported online, and I don't
Okay.
really trust. But let's
Right.
caveat it that is someone is saying there's a medical examiner for a person. Let's go with it that they are there for right now.
If that is the case, then yeah, we probably gonna be here all night. They don't bring medical examiners in for just anything. I mean, yeah, if in fact it is, yeah, we'll be here all night. Not just crime scene vehicles. So yeah, if you see a coroner's truck coming in, then it spells very, very bad. So yeah, the fact that they are bringing in other officers, new investigators, and the others haven't left yet, that to me could mean anything. But they're gonna start doing knock and talks in that area. There are a lot of people in those neighborhoods that you need to start talking to, so you can start developing your profile against the people that you're about to investigate. So there's a lot of work that goes into these cases. Guys like us that have done this on television. Television only shows you a minute portion of what really happens in an investigation. So you don't see how many other officers are out there doing the leg work that goes into some of these cases. That those 20 other officers that they brought in, or 10 other, how many ever it is, those guys are coming in to do some serious leg work.
Hey, Chris, I don't want to cut you off, but Jennifer Coffendorfer is a friend. Let's bounce in here for just 1 second because I want to hear what she has to say.
Operation that was conducted at a property about 2 miles
Jennifer
away from
Coffendorfer
Nancy
is retired
Guthrie's house, where
FBI,
2
and
people
Phil
have been
Waters,
removed. And this is in conjunction with a traffic stop where someone was detained. What do you imagine the FBI is doing right now?
Well, the number one role I think they're going to have is in the ERT, their evidence response team. They do it, and they do it very well. And they have handled a lot of this evidence recovery we've seen since they've interjected into this investigation. To be clear, though, from a legal standpoint, it is Pima County that has venue and has jurisdiction over that case. So the FBI is there working in conjunction with them, but at the end of the day, they are the ones that are in charge.
Jennifer, I want you to clear something up for me. Okay, so Sheriff Nanos from Pima County went on Elizabeth Vargas earlier tonight. He said they can't clear anybody from the investigation when asked if you've cleared the family. And when you heard that, social media run wild with that, a lot of theories, a lot of speculation. Is that standard to say at this point in the investigation, particularly, I have to imagine he knew this was going to be conducted maybe several hours after his interview. I could be wrong. Maybe something developed. But what should we be taking away from that? Is that standard to say, listen, we can't rule out anybody. We can't say anything until we, catch the person or persons, see if they have any kind of connection to the family or not? Or is there something more we should be looking into?
Well, each sheriff that's in charge is going to make that decision, what they are and aren't going to say. We saw in Idaho every week, every few days, they came out and said, hey, listen, these people are cleared. And they gave a list and they gave it to, the public information officer to release. We saw that. We're not seeing that here. And I think it's because it's too early in the investigation. Everyone is a suspect. And I just don't think they can clear them yet.
Let me go to you, Phil, on something. Besides the DNA that was collected from the house, arguably the most important piece of evidence in this entire case is the surveillance footage from Nancy's house, the Nest footage, right, of the suspect. When you view that guy's actions and the way he's walking around and taking the foliage and either trying to dismantle the camera or hide his view, and if it is true that this suspect or suspects discarded gloves relatively nearby, does this signify to you someone who's sloppy, someone who
one
knew the
more
house,
minute and we'll go to our
that's
guest
a
in a minute.
professional, someone that has experience? No, it's tough to read from just this image, this footage, but sometimes this is better than we get in other cases. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's kind of hard to tell. I don't see this this person as being a terribly sophisticated criminal. I think he's done some things that he thinks are going to hide his identity.
All right. People want the best guest.
So
This is Phil Waters, one of our best guests. But let's mute it, COE. But please keep this up. Please keep it up. And if Brian Enton is back, let's jump in there. Phil Ramos, you heard Jennifer Koffendorfer, who's a friend of mine, and I can never understand the amount of heat she takes. She is a dedicated law enforcement officer, retired now. ERT is the Evidence Response Team. And I think it was Chris Anderson who mentioned the phrase knock and talks. Was I right about that, Chris? Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, Phil Ramos, what is an evidence response team going to be doing tonight, right now? Yeah, we saw that, Vesper. Thank you for that. Brian Enton, he had sort of inadvertently gotten inside the perimeter and has been advertently removed out of the perimeter. But Phil Ramos, the evidence response team, explain what they do.
Well, they come in, they're specialized at doing an excellent job at collecting evidence, in particular forensic evidence, latent evidence, very likely pursuant to the search warrant, but that doesn't mean that they found things that weren't included in the search warrant, and they can collect those as long as they were in plain view. Once you're in there under the authority of a search warrant, you're looking specifically for the things that you want listed in the search warrant. But if you see a .45 caliber sitting by the kitchen sink, then you recover that. But yeah, this is major, man. This could be putting us over the top.
It's hard for me to explain. I mean, you're looking at it right now. These are all police vehicles coming in, and the unmarked cars are obviously the feds. Some of them might be Pima County, but I'm also looking at a separate feed, and we're talking hundreds of law enforcement cars. I mean, Greg Giovanni, just the sheer number of law enforcement, what does that say about this?
Look, what do you think? I think she might be there. That's what I think. I think perps are there. I think she's there. What else is there to think? You know, and
and Greg, I don't want to get macabre, and I apologize. My Jersey and me just got excited, but someone pointed out, and we have a very small vantage point. And let's hope this is not the case, but someone pointed out there are no ambulances, just a medical examiner truck. That doesn't bode well if that is true, Greg.
Well, if an Emmy truck is there, okay, it's usually because someone made a phone call that someone's dead. Okay, I go out on DOAs all the time when I was on the job. I'm waiting for the Emmy to respond. So you call the Emmy for someone that's not alive. In New York, anyway. I mean, there's a lot of vehicles and there's a lot going on over here, and I think we got something more going on. It's obvious. I mean, the Emmy, come on.
Yeah, I mean, when you say something more, I mean, this is like you think this could be the epicenter of this crime scene that we've been talking about for 13 days now.
Yeah, without a doubt. And look, this guy in the video you showed us, you know, the guy with the gloves. That guy's an amateur. I'm going to tell you, he was so sloppy, trying to hide a doorbell with weeds. You bring duct tape, okay? Just the way he looked. Yeah, I just think they're amateurs. I really do, and I think they messed up big time. Okay, they had this woman for a while, and I think they screwed up. They got themselves in a fix here, and listen, guys, you know, we're all thinking the same thing. What is this medical examiner truck doing here? They're only here for people, you know, if there's someone not alive. Let's face it.
Yeah.
What else to think of, really?
100%. COE, I just sent you an X post. I'm not going to reveal what it is, but Phil Ramos, there's scanner hounds who listen to these police scanners, and according to this person, and I've got my hands tied here on this desk a little bit, but this person who's a scanner hound has a name of a person apparently who's been named over the police scanners. It's not a name that I have heard anywhere, and the date of birth is the year of birth is 1971, which puts him at about 54 years old. So, I guess my question is, would you guys put a name out over the police scanner if you're looking for somebody or you've detained somebody? Would that name go out potentially?
Well, it all depends on why they have that name, what the circumstances are, and how they came to know that name. Typically, if it was something that you wanted to put out to the units and put out to dispatch surreptitiously, then you would use your in-car computer to transmit the information. The fact that they're doing it over the air so that everybody can hear, and the scanners, tells me that they just want people to know, or not people, but they want everybody to know who this person is. It all depends on the content of how they got this person's name and why they're looking for him. It sounds like they were doing a records check on him with the date of birth, the name and the date of birth, and search their databases, various databases for arrest history and stuff like that. But I'm going back to the fact that if, and it's a big if, we haven't confirmed that, if that's an ME vehicle there, that's very bad news. That's very bad news.
Yeah, let's hope. We haven't confirmed it, so that's positive. We have not confirmed it. It's been reported that that's what's going on, but we have not confirmed it. Chief Anderson, back to you. This is all going on very close to Nancy Guthrie's home. I mean, I'm talking less than 2 miles. And keep in mind, Tucson is something like a 250 square mile city. I mean, it goes on forever in the vast desert. Does it surprise you, if this is all related and all connected, that the people that the world has been looking for 13 days are less than 2 miles away from Nancy Guthrie's home?
No, it doesn't surprise me at all. So what I've seen in evidence and with the people that have been involved, and I think we all agree that the video evidence that showed the person that was dealing with the camera system looked very amateurish in nature. So, and there are a lot of cases, sometimes the best places to hide are right up under your nose if you know how to keep yourself quiet. So it does not surprise me. There have been plenty of homicides that I have investigated and worked and found suspects, within a half block, 2 houses down from where the actual murder took place. So yeah, does it surprise me? No, because we've seen the lack of sophistication in the video. And if you say that they are still right there in the same general area, that's kind of just par for the course.
The COE is continuing to work to get some different feeds up. COE, let's please have a feed up, though, for this, because it's important to be looking at it. Back to Greg Giovanni here. This is a very nice area of Tucson. I know because I work there. Very close to Nancy Guthrie.
This property pursuant to a search warrant. There is a very large presence of authorities, mostly FBI. We saw forensic trucks leaving the area, and I have just gotten word that 3 people have been detained tonight. So there was 1 man, 1 woman from that home. And we also talked about and have exclusive video of this traffic stop that was apparently connected to this operation. And we believe that 1 man from that traffic stop has been detained. And we believe he was on his way back to this property when that stop happened. Again, this is a real-time update in the Nancy Guthrie investigation. I have to be clear. There has been no sign of Nancy at this location, no word about how this is connected to the investigation in general. We are still learning more details as they come through. But as Brian Enton, who's on the ground, indicated, this is a search This is an operation that is going to last several hours. I want to bring in retired FBI Assistant Director Kieran Ramsey and retired homicide detective Chris McDonough, who's also the director.
Phil Ramos, let me just go back to you there, and please keep this up. Please keep this up. Please, I said please. Phil Ramos. So now we're learning 3 people detained, 1 man, 1 woman, and 1 from the traffic stop where this guy was heading back to the house. It's the woman I can't really wrap my head around because she's been described as the mother of one of these people. There's also a lot, and I have to say, a lot of chatter about a death related, and again, I have not confirmed this, a death related to the traffic stop, that there was someone in the road. And I got to tell you, Tucson has a tremendous amount of pedestrians struck because of how dark it is. Phil knows this because of the desert. There is tons of chatter about a body in the road. Phil, I have no idea what that is about, but let's start with this. 3 people detained, 1 man, 1 woman, 1 person from this traffic stop that was reportedly heading back to the house. It's the woman that's tripping me up. Any thoughts about what is happening here?
Man, it just fits with the bizarreness of this whole investigation that we've been dealing with for 2 weeks. That I can't imagine how it sounds like it would be an auto pedestrian fatal accident if there was a woman out in the street. How is that related to this, and how is it related to the van? Was the van associated with that? Did the van hit some woman and cause her demise? We don't know. I mean, there's just, we're just getting these little tiny tidbits of information that could be value.
Well, let me hop in real quick because there's a medical examiner truck there, van. So either someone died at that traffic stop, which is horrible for whoever that person is, but the only silver lining, which is not a silver lining to that person or their family, is that maybe it wouldn't be Nancy Guthrie.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. But then why would the ME be at the house if the fatality was at that intersection?
This has to be just one of the weirdest stories. Go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, unless there was a nexus between the woman who was in the street and the house. But then remember, we were sitting here watching this when that van pulled out of the street. So what does that mean? I mean, supposedly this van was going back to the house for whatever reason, and then however many hours later we see it leaving the scene, and it didn't look like any type of police vehicle that I would imagine it was. It was a kind of an odd looking configuration on the vehicle, but man, I don't know what's next, man.
Yeah. Michael Ruiz continuing to post just an inordinate amount of cars, Greg Giovanni, who are still coming into the neighborhood. But one of the things that's also being reported right now is that residents surrounding this neighborhood were asked, I think, to leave their homes temporarily. As you can tell, it's raining out there. Residents now, according to reports, are being let back into their homes in this, right in the vicinity of where, this particular home that was struck is by SWAT. What does that tell you about the current state of the situation? Is it
absurd?
Hang on one second.
Making everybody nervous. It's just surreal. And we just can't imagine how the family is processing all this. As a neighbor, as a person that lives in the community, we just wanted to resolve, for the positive.
And so what do you make it, how's it feel? There's, 20 cop cars, a couple SWAT.
Yeah, I live right across the street.
Right across the street.
Yeah, it's weird.
Tell us your thoughts when you saw that going on, maybe, just about trying to process it all. Tell us how you feel about that.
We feel that, they might have gotten a tip. There's been a lot of tips, I'm sure, over the past 2 weeks. But this seems to be a tip that's, could be close. Hopefully it's something that's credible and, it's actual. So hopefully they get somebody. But living right so close to it, I can't imagine that if they get somebody that lives right next to me on my street, that, that even makes sense, to be in this neighborhood, to have all these cops here. There's bomb squad vehicles, a lot of cops, a lot of presence.
Yeah, I can imagine that's a shock to the neighborhood, a shock to the system. Chris,
Greg Giovanni, what does it tell you though? Now that they're letting this guy and other residents back into the home, does that mean that law enforcement has it at least contained enough and controlled enough that they can now say, okay, you can go back to your bedrooms and go to bed for the night while we handle this?
Yeah, they got to do that. So in every situation like this, they usually have an inner perimeter and an outer perimeter. Okay. And the inner perimeter is like where everything's going on. It's really serious. And you got people that live in the inner perimeter, okay, as well, or have to get through the inner perimeter to get to their house that's in the outer perimeter. So this is normal procedure. It's just kind of wacky, now that this medical investigator, vehicle is there, and maybe they're there because some pedestrian got hit, and it's not, have anything to do with Nancy. So this is getting a little, we're on the outside looking in, okay? Really, we're speculating right now, and man, this is a highly, interesting, unusual situation. And one, for the most part too, we don't know, the media is not letting anything out, and we're reporting on what we're seeing. We're not reporting on what we're hearing. So, but like I said, there's an inner and an outer perimeter. Everybody knows if you're a negotiator, that's what we have. That's how we operate. And the inner perimeter is his house right now. Okay. And this guy that lives in the area, he happens to live in the inner perimeter. But they're letting people in and out. I think they have it. I think the police and the FBI have this place secured to the fact where they can let people, as long as they're identified, go where they have to go. Anybody that's going to be in that area, they're going to be ID'd, and they're going to know, want to know why you're here. And this guy happens to be a neighbor. So, what's ever going on in that house is going to take a while. I think we're going to be here for a little while. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. These guys are all used to, I'm not suggesting you guys need to stick around with me. I would love for you to. I'm going to stick around, and we've got this feed, and I'm going to continue to monitor information. But Chief, Greg, and Phil, I'd love for you to stick around. But if you guys have to go, I totally understand. Now, Chief, back to you. Now that I said you can go, and I have a question for you. These knock and talks. Talk to me about them. What do you do in this neighborhood? It sounds like such a chaotic scene. I'm sure law enforcement's got a way better handle on this than we have on it. But what sort of information? Give me an example of when you get up there and knock. What are you asking about? Oh, you're muted, Chris. I think you have to unmute yourself. Sorry about that.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
That was a little bit of information that was just released with that last witness that they interviewed. He said that the bomb squad was there. Now that says a whole lot, to me, because he also said that the residents were evacuated away from their houses. So initially I was thinking that, wow, wait a minute, why would the bomb squad be there? Well, if they evacuated all of the residents away from the houses, that would suggest that there may have been either an indication that this house may be armed with some bombs, or there may have been some sort of device that may have been found there. So you would evacuate the rest of the residents away from around the house. Now, as far as the knock and talks go, those are something that, most, we as homicide investigators, we are used to doing them. If you have, it helps you to build a profile, to figure out who the people are that lives in that house, whatever information that they may have. You have to go and talk to some of the neighbors that are around. You may not want to do it at 11 o'clock at night, but I mean, this case, with every minute that you waste, that's another minute that's taken away from reuniting this family. So you want to do it as soon as possible. But it's exactly what it says. You knock on the doors, you talk to the people that are there, see if they can give you some insight or some information on the people that live in this house, or see if they know anything or have had anything happening at that residence over the last few weeks. I mean, there's a lot of questions that can be answered, and you won't know the answers until you ask the real questions. So
we've got some what we call MOS, man on the street interviews going on. I'd like to listen into this. This is COE. Can you bring that up, please? If that is that, are we allowed to bring that up? Or is this a prayer vigil going on? What is happening here? COE, bring this up when you can. Please, if we can, leave a feed up. I would love to have a feed up. Phil Ramos, I asked you about this earlier today. We're talking something like 18,000 tips came in since we saw a Nest camera guy, and then they were breaking it down to 4,000 tips per day. Who knows? They said they're acting on a tip here, but I just do not understand how you can collate, filter, go through. I mean, are they using AI, or are they just abusing the first year police officers, saying go through this and give me the ones that sound good and you better be right?
Yeah, they're doing everything they can to sort through those tips. And like we said earlier today, they got to triage the tips and get the ones that look to be very valid and have pertinent information, put those at the top of the list, give them to the investigators. And they may even have delegated the people that are reading these tips to make the first phone call to follow up to verify that information that was sent in. So it's a Herculean task, to be sure. But that's not to say that this tip that led him to this came from those 14,000. This could have been an anonymous tip through a phone call or something like that. We don't know the source of the information, and we probably won't know for some time. But, like I said, and going back to what Chief Chris said, they had asked for canine. We heard that radio translation that they had asked for canine and additional units, and then they evacuated the people around there. That's wholly consistent with some sort of explosive device or something that they need a bomb detection dog to confirm that there was something there. And then the bomb squad comes in and makes sure it's stable or safe, and they remove it and carry on. My sense of it is that's exactly what happened, but I wonder why the guy with the hoodie on, the neighbor, didn't mention if he was questioned or if he knew the people across the street. Maybe they did. They asked him and we just didn't get it. But that would certainly be one of the things that you would ask them. Do you know these people across the street?
Greg Giovanni, talk to us about a little more about the processing here in terms of if this is in fact a crime scene, which certainly looks that way. You've said a few times this is going to go on all night. Take us through the different steps of how this is processed. And Chief has to hop off. So Chief Anderson, you're the man. You're looking at the future sheriff of, is it Richmond County?
Jefferson County.
Jefferson County.
Mm-hmm.
Future sheriff of Jefferson County. If you live in that area, you better vote for the chief, man. He is the man. Appreciate it, Chris. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, guys. Hey, good to see you guys, Greg, Phil. Y'all take care.
Yeah, take care.
Good luck.
So Greg, just continue to talk to us a little bit, and then we'll dip back into this programming. COE, I'm going to stay on with this programming for a while here because I want to know what that statement is going to be, and maybe we'll roll in some new people. Thank you to Beth for saying that we are the best YouTube channel. We've got the best guests in true crime. I'll tell you that right now. But Greg Giovanni, this processing of the crime scene, if this is a crime scene, where do you start with it, and how meticulous and painstaking is it?
Well, first, you're going to know it's a crime scene when they rope a large area of that property. Now, I don't know if it's roped off, okay? Now, I know people can't get in, all right? But usually what we do is just rope it off, okay? And you know right away if it's a crime scene. And what they'll do is we kind of, want to make that area the largest crime scene we can. You're not just going to rope off the driveway or the front door or the small an area in front of the place. We want to rope off the whole place, a larger perimeter, just to safeguard any future evidence that we come across. Okay. Right now, with the dogs and everything, well, at least we know it's not a cadaver dog, right?
I don't know. Phil Ramos, did you get a look at the dog? I haven't seen the dog, so I'm not sure. But
Yeah, you can't tell by that. But the fact that they asked for a dog, and like I said, the dogs have different disciplines, but asking for a dog and then asking for the Emmy, if it's the Emmy, and then the neighbors saying bomb squad was there and they evacuated the neighbors. It's anybody's guess, that they don't. I don't want to give a lot of secrets away, but if it was a bomb dog, then it would be very obvious that this was a bomb dog.
Mm-hmm.
If it was a cadaver dog, it's just going to be a regular dog, and they're awesome, man. I've seen them work many times, and man, they're awesome to watch work.
And Phil, SWAT has now apparently rolled out. So they rolled in, did what they had to do, and they're out of there. Is that typical? They just they breach, they get what they need, and they're out.
Yeah.
You think they're on a move? There was talk earlier tonight that they were going to hit another house. Would we have any indication from where we're at if that could happen or not?
Well, if we got people following the SWAT guys that are leaving, but yeah, that's typical. SWAT goes in there and does their thing and secures the residence and evacuates all the people that's in there and turns them over to the suits, they call us. And sometimes they call us dicks. SWAT are some unique guys, man. They don't think the same way that the rest of us do, and that's good because they do some crazy stuff.
Yeah,
but,
they sure do. Hey, Greg, yeah, I'm sorry, Phil, but Greg, now there are unconfirmed reports that because you were asking the question, I think that there are cadaver dogs on scene, and now there's reports that there are multiple forensics vans, which we talked about a little bit earlier, but I mean a good number of them. Cadaver dogs doesn't sound good to me, Greg. Obviously, they're there for one reason.
We're talking about a huge crime scene here now. It's some kind of crime scene. That's what this is. What exactly? It's kind of early in this to speculate. We're going to find out eventually. But that's what we're kind of, that's what I'm thinking here. I'm thinking this is definitely something that has to do with this whole case, and you got to treat it as a crime scene.
For those who are just joining, it is 12:43 in the morning on the East Coast. It is 10:43 p.m. In Tucson, Mountain Time. There was talk that SWAT was on the move, and this was going on for a few hours. This was much earlier tonight. Brian Enton of News Nation, who's a friend of ours at the channel, was on the show just the other night. He was reporting for News Nation that he thought they were just staging because they had done this the other night where they're just getting ready. This is not accurate. This is okay. So let me just cut in here and I'll get back to what I was saying. Vesper Martini here, who's one of our amazing mods, and she's all over everything all the time. Pima County Sheriff. This is directly from the sheriff. Pima County Sheriff's Department reporting that current law enforcement activity is surrounding a home belonging to a former county attorney is not accurate. I have a feeling that attorney called and said, I'm going to sue your ass. You better get a statement out there. So this attorney did not want to be associated. COE, who's this other reporter? This looks like a local reporter. I would love to listen to that. Is that possible?
Turn to where you are right now.
This is local
A lot
Phoenix
of the conversation today was about DNA and DNA that had come back from a lab that was not the family's, that was not Nancy Guthrie's, and also the gloves that had been found. Walk us through sort of the newest elements from today.
Yeah, Faye, that's a great question. So what we had heard from ABC News after they sat down with the sheriff was that DNA evidence was found not just on gloves, but on other items. They wouldn't specify what other items these were, but saying that there was DNA evidence collected and that was tested. And of course, they found some family members' DNA in Nancy's home. That's to be expected to a degree because think about it. If you go to your mom's home, you're leaving DNA. If you go to your sister's house, you're leaving DNA there. But What was interesting about what was revealed today was that there was DNA from someone else outside of the family that was found inside of the home. Again, deputies, the FBI, they didn't elaborate beyond that, but it was fascinating, and it got a lot of us wondering what exactly was happening and who that could maybe belong to in the meantime. But yeah, I mean, we of course were captivated by that, just trying to figure out who exactly it could belong to, just deepening the mystery here.
And in covering these situations, you know, sometimes that's the break, right? That's the break they need.
Smallest little thing sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, Nick,
Sure.
we'll check back in a little later.
All right, we want to get back out to our Ashley Holden now. And
Let's watch this for a minute.
Actually, let me go back for a moment, though, to day 13 of this search. And again, an update on those gloves that were found.
Yeah, we were talking about that interview with Sheriff Nano. So Friday's updates come as the Pima County Sheriff sat down for multiple interviews, including with our Scripps News Tucson station. He says, talking about those gloves, he did not find a glove inside Nancy Guthrie's home, but they have found a lot of gloves throughout their search, including one after a tip.
Pima County Sheriff Cristiano says their focus, of course, is on finding Nancy Guthrie and doing the work necessary. But the biggest piece of evidence he still believes is that chilling doorbell footage from Nancy Guthrie's home released earlier this week. He says they've submitted all of their evidence and they have gotten back results with DNA.
If we get a suspect, we hope to get a swab and validate it with the DNA.
Are you making progress?
You know, the biggest key right now for me, the biggest piece of evidence right now was that video. That I looked at that, you looked at, people say, oh, they held it for days. We held that video for less than 2 hours. It was just like, and the only reason is you got to send it to Washington, get approvals, all those things here. But we knew that's key. It's got to get out there.
Yeah, and Sheriff Nano says they have widened their search. He says they've gone out about 10 miles now. And one other thing to note, they have released that the suspect that you see in that door.
I want to go back to this in a minute. I'll unmute it in a second. We're getting a little bit more news to give you here. David Sarney, welcome back, by the way. I know it's getting late on the East Coast. Whenever you guys want to roll, no hard feelings. But PCSD, and I'd love for you to stick around. PCSD, Pima County Sheriff's Department, are saying that they are currently still waiting on approval from the FBI to release whatever statement they're about to release. David Sarney, that sure sounds like they are working together and that the FBI is kind of running the show here. What does it say to you?
I think after all this, and Greg first, Greg, I bow to you, sir. One thing I have to say about this is, even though the media, it's a media thing, and I think they want to get everything, they want to make sure that it's okay to say what they're going to say. I think they're not going to say anything right now. Anything they're going to say will be very limited if they said anything. You know, that's why the sheriff said we have DNA, but we can't tell you where we got it from, or all we can tell you is this. They've always been working together. Who has the lead is always going to be the state, unless, and especially now, given the fact it looks like you have an area contained. It's a state. It's in the state. It's in Tucson. They're going to be running the show. FBI is assisting in this case, unless it goes federal. I don't think that's going to happen. At least we don't know right now. So they just want to make sure that both are correct. That they can say, we're telling them, hey, do you mind if we say that? They can say yes or no, or they could formulate a joint statement together. That's up to them. But it is significant in the fact that there is something that has a lot of legs on this, and you have a lot of movement. So the feel of this is, it is a significant move toward a resolution of this case. Whether or not but you can see how focused they are, and I was just dealing with this. They don't want to make a mistake. They don't want to give any chance of any evidence being thrown out or suppressed because of improper invoicing, improper recovery, improper any of it. So what they're doing is exactly what they're supposed to do. Take your time. You have the place. It's frozen. There is no rush to get this done. Get it done the right way.
David Sarney, are we sitting in the presence of a legend here in Greg Giovanni? Tell us a little bit about him. David Sarney, did I lose you? Greg, I wanted him to tell us all about you. But right on cue, the guy, because he said he wanted to bow down to you. So I got a little.
Who was the first on the scene there? The first
Here we
on the
go.
scene
This is
there.
Brian. Back up.
Brian, at this hour, what are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are you learning?
Yeah, so there's still a massive law enforcement presence at the house right now, Jesse. There were already a ton of deputies and SWAT vehicles. And then, as you mentioned, we saw just a huge contingent of FBI agents arrive, at least 10 cars, and what looked like sort of an evidence unit that arrived maybe a half an hour ago. I'll step out of the way and show you. This is as close as we can get right now. You can't really see down the street where all the activity is. That deputy that you see there in the distance is blocking the street, but it's about 5 or 6 houses down where we know this SWAT operation happened, and where I'm told there is also a search warrant that is being executed right now. What I am being told is that when they went to this house initially, they pulled out a man and a woman, possibly a mother and a son, I'm being told. They came out willingly. So there was no need for any sort of force or flashbangs. It was very, very quiet. We were right down the street when it happened, and we didn't hear pretty much anything. It was quiet because they came out willingly, I am told, and were detained. And at the same time, interestingly, there was another male detained not far from here during a traffic stop that I am told is related. Whether that person also lives in the house, that's what I'm hearing. I haven't been able to fully confirm that yet. But there was another man detained in a traffic stop close by, and I'm told that person was going to get food and it happened near a Culver's restaurant where that person was detained. How all of this connects back to the Nancy Guthrie investigation, we don't know, but we do know that this is part of the Nancy Guthrie investigation, and it is somehow connected. They're questioning these people right now. Is this going to turn into something, or is this going to be similar to what we saw several nights ago near the Mexico border when that other man, Carlos, was detained and then they ended up letting him go? We just don't know at this point, Jesse.
And you were told that this operation is going to last quite a while. I mean, what can we expect tomorrow with this?
Yeah, I mean, based on what I'm seeing, I don't get the sense that anybody's going to be leaving anytime soon. And when we were inside the perimeter closer, when we finally got kicked out, they came up to us and said, you guys have to go and we're going to be here pretty much. And I said, how long? And he goes, pretty much all night, which is sort of the sense that I'm getting to, that they're at least going to be there for several hours longer, especially since we just saw all of those additional FBI teams roll in.
Collecting, processing evidence, maybe doing interviews of neighbors. I mean, we played an interview that was you guys did on the ground with someone there. I have to tell you, Brian, I'm wondering what's leading them there. Today was a very interesting day when they talk about the collection of DNA. And I'll just go back to that for a second. I mean, you've been covering this from the beginning. Do you think there was something that led them there, whether it's the surveillance footage, whether it's the idea of collecting DNA, the gloves? Now there's been potential identifications of the clothing worn by the suspect. What's your gut telling you about what might have led them there? Because it seemed like, my guests have been saying, it looks like they were under surveillance for a little bit.
Yeah, it's my understanding that someone in the home was under surveillance, and I was getting, indications from my sources really starting in the late afternoon that something might be going down tonight. And then we reported when the SWAT team was staging. They staged at 2 different locations that we were at. They were all gathering together, and you got the sense that they were getting ready to do something. Granted, we've seen them do that other nights, and nothing has transpired, so we weren't really sure which way it was going to go tonight. And then, lo and behold, they staged at one location. They moved to a different location very close to the house, and then they moved in on the house pretty much at the same time that we know they moved in on that traffic stop, Jesse. Whether it has anything to do with the announcement by the sheriff that DNA was found inside the home, my sense is it doesn't, that this was someone who is probably already on their radar and under surveillance, but we're just going to have to wait and see.
Any idea of identities of these people?
No, we don't have names. We don't have identities. We don't, looks like there's someone else coming out here. So let me step out of the way. You can see who this is. But we do not. Looks like this is maybe one of the SWAT units now leaving, Jesse. They've been there for a long time. I actually thought maybe these SWAT units would have left earlier once everything sort of calmed down. But yeah, this is what we saw roll in earlier. There were 2 of these, and that's how we knew that it was serious. When you see these SWAT guys and everybody inside had their armor, and they weren't taking any chances earlier, but now they're starting to roll out, Jesse.
And that could be because they just have to make sure there's not a continuing security risk. I don't know how big this property is. I don't know what kind of complications it has. Not uncommon for a SWAT team to stay there to provide additional resources for quite some time. You know, this is, by the way, there's been so much talk about the cooperation, lack of cooperation between the sheriff's office and the FBI. Have you seen Sheriff Nanos at the scene?
I haven't seen him. That doesn't mean he's not here. It's so dark. When we were back there, it was hard to really see faces. So I know I confirmed that night that when we were at the scene at Rio Rico, he was there. The sheriff did show up. In terms of whether he's here tonight, I haven't heard.
I did think it was interesting that he did that interview with Elizabeth Vargas just hours before this. Was a little, you know, as you should be, not revealing a lot of information, wouldn't even rule out suspects and say, well, I can't even rule out the family at this point when he was asked. I do wonder, I mean, you've been following this. I do wonder what information he had about this operation, because there has been a question of what is, you nailed it perfectly. It was like at the beginning of the week, he didn't even know Savannah Guthrie was going to be making that video. He found out from his wife. I mean, do you believe that there is more coordination than we're seeing in the media right now between the FBI and Pima County?
I certainly hope so. I mean, look, we're hearing 2 different stories. We're hearing from FBI sources that it's been a bit of a mess when it comes to communication between the 2 agencies, and that they, you know, were having issues about where to send evidence. The sheriff has now denied all of that. Looks like there's another truck coming up, maybe. The sheriff has denied that there's been an issue, says that he called the FBI, you know, the Monday after Nancy Guthrie went missing. We definitely saw FBI here tonight. I can say that for sure. Because a ton of them arrived. I don't know what this white. I don't know the significance of this white van, but it looks like it was coming from the crime scene area. So you know, hopefully things will get better, because I've heard it for the last week or so, just among the sources here on the ground, that even 2 nights ago there was some critical information involving a car that they were looking for that just wasn't shared with the FBI. And they were sort of mind blown by that. Like, why were they not being kept in the loop?
Let me ask you about that real quick. So we have this video that was obtained of the traffic stop, and you see what appears to be a white van. I've been talking about it tonight. Why is that significant to you?
So, I mean, we've got to sort of figure out how to piece this together, and we don't have the information yet. But the traffic stop happened around the same time as when they finally decided to move in on this house. And it's my understanding they were waiting for this traffic stop to happen to move in on the house. So they're connected. The people involved are connected.
Right.
And how they are and all the details of that, we're gonna have to wait to kind of sort that out and talk to our sources.
But about 30 seconds left. But you've heard reports about a white van in Nancy's neighborhood, if in fact that's what the video is showing?
Yeah. I did. Granted, there's so many workers in the neighborhood. You know, not to discount that, but I've seen a lot of white vans in the neighborhood. I mean, there's landscapers everywhere. It's a beautiful neighborhood. People have work done on their houses constantly. So, you know, there's a ton of white vans. I wouldn't go too far thinking that that's necessarily, you know, a connection.
I lied. You have 20 seconds. You got you have a special coming out tomorrow night, right?
We do. Yeah, we've got a special tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern, where we're gonna look at it. I mean, we've got all these developments tonight. We're going to keep pounding the pavement tonight in the morning, and we'll have it all tomorrow night, kind of at where everything stands.
And that is their stream. They're getting ready, I believe. COE confirmed for me that looks like they're getting ready to go off air here. Thank you for the continued super stickers, super chats. Honestly, the best thing that you could do for STS is please hit that like and subscribe button. We've got an active Patreon page. If you're new to the show, there are a lot of new people. we do a live panel show with the best guests in true crime. And that is not a tagline. That is
in your
our
community
reality.
Yeah,
Here's
go
some
ahead, you start,
MOS.
Somer.
I mean, it's a little
Man on the
concerning,
street.
obviously. I'm
Woman
not
on the
used to
street.
like this type of crime. I mean, we have crime, obviously, like normal crime in every city, but something like this is really kind of like shocking.
Yeah. For this scene to be just a few miles away from Nancy Guthrie's home, I mean, did that surprise you guys?
Yeah, it's so unsettling. I mean, the disappearance. I mean, this is just a really, I mean, Tucson is 500,000 people. It's a really small, close-knit community. You know, we're right in the backyard of University of Arizona. We don't have these kinds of experiences or disappearances in Tucson. It just, it's a quiet town.
Yeah.
And the community is very, together, close-knit. And we just don't have these kinds of things happen here.
Yeah.
So it's very unsettling. Everyone is really worried. Everyone's looking at cameras, enforcing cameras, street cameras in their houses, outside, inside. So it's just really, everyone is nerve-wracking. I have a next-door neighbor that's gone to church for 30 years with Nancy Guthrie, the same church for 30 years, and he's devastated.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of elderly people that live in the foothills area.
Right.
A lot of people, we have trucks, Amazon, UPS is coming here every day on our streets. So it's hard to detect if these are, suspicious trucks or if it's real. It's just very tough. And, with all the presence of helicopters and drones and FBI on the ground, it's just really unsettling for these elderly people that are, don't know what to do.
Yeah, and one more question before I let you guys go and maybe warm up or at least get back from this area. What would it mean to have answers in this case? Do you think that people could, just feel maybe a little less on alert potentially, because it sounds like all day, every day, everyone's kind of looking behind their backs?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we really need some answers. We need a solution. This is day 13, and there's been no proof of life.
Yeah.
We're going on day 13, and we don't know what's going on. So we really need, the community needs some answers and fast.
Yeah.
It's going on, and, ransoms we're hearing about, fake ransoms, trucks,
Yeah.
So
all
many
these
questions.
things, the gloves, we don't know, the DNA today.
Yeah.
So we really need some answers. And I think the law enforcement and the FBI are doing an amazing job. They are really asking questions, trying to get camera, footage.
Yeah.
They're really doing a great job. And the police force here in Tucson are doing a great job. But it's
need some
gone on,
answers.
and we
Yeah.
are very unsettled. We're very
Yeah.
devastated.
Yeah.
And I mean, this should be, it's a very peaceful town. It's very quiet, peaceful.
Yeah.
This is not what you're used to at all. Yeah.
Especially for it being an elderly woman. Yeah. That's like less common.
Yeah.
Especially talking about kidnappings. You don't really hear stories of it being like an elderly woman or a man being kidnapped. Yeah. So that's a little more concerning part, because
These are neighbors.
What was the real true,
Yeah, what's the motive behind this?
this? Like she said, should other elderly neighbors in the area be concerned as well?
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. I'm Ashley again. Sorry, my hands are cold. Thank you so much. I'll let you guys get back, and I'm going to put this back on. Thank you guys for standing.
Okay, so that's Fox 15. I mean, I'm sorry, ABC 15 out of Phoenix, and they were just speaking to obviously some neighbors there. Some more to get through here, and Debbie Gibby, Joel, let the guests talk. I'm about to do that, Debbie Gibby. It's been a long night. I'm about to do that right now. Phil Ramos, going back to what Brian Enton just said, and just prior to that, apparently Pima County Sheriff's is waiting on the FBI before they release a written statement. But Brian, Phil Ramos talked about this massive law enforcement presence. And I think that's important, along with a huge contingent of the FBI. They have media pushed all the way back, which happens a lot. This is night vision camera now, the neighborhood from Fox News Digital. Brian is saying you can't see down the street, that a search warrant is currently being executed. So let's just stop it there. The other night when there was this person detained, there wasn't much going on. It was a person detained. Is there any chance we're going to wake up tomorrow and they're going to say this was all nothing? This was the wrong people. We stopped it. I mean, this sounds like they've got real actionable intelligence, And God help us, because if we wake up tomorrow and they're like, this was a nothing burger, I think people are going to start to lose their minds. But Phil, is this something?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if this was nothing, everybody would be gone by now. I mean, they've been out there for a long time. There are dozens of units coming in there. They've got specialized units coming in there. Yeah, there's something going on there. And my view is that it's major because of the amount of time that's going on there, the number of investigators that have responded after SWAT made their entry and secured the place. And, you have a containment team, and then they just keep coming and keep coming and coming. So they're not there for nothing. They're not there just to see what's going on. They're there for a reason. And I expect it to be a pretty big reason when we find out.
David Sarney, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Yeah. Before I ask you a question, I wanted to note this guy, Greg Yavani, is a legend sitting in front of us. Is this guy, is he a New York City living landmark, this guy?
Yes.
How come?
All yes. I know Greg. Yes.
Tell us about him.
Greg, it's amazing. He was part of training when I got there, and he went to night watch. He's been around a long time. He's a salty veteran. He's not very salty, like mean, but salty, like he's been around the block. He's well seasoned. Add a little pepper. Let me tell you, Greg's the man. I mean, that's what I can just say.
And how is he when there's a negotiation going on with a hostage or a barricade situation? Is this the guy you want?
As cool as the other side of the pillow. That's how you have to be. He's done it all. That's the way I look at it. That's why the respect I have for him is immense. And that's, we need more people like that. I wish that younger cops and younger detectives wanted to hear these salty veterans like himself, and they would be better detectives because of what he could contribute to them.
Well, Greg Yavani, thank you for your service. Greg, let me just pick up here. So the search warrant is being executed. Again, Phil was talking about this earlier, and I think you touched on it a little bit. You can't just go and grab whatever you want. You've got to, kind of delineate what is needed in the search warrant. Walk us through the process of what they're dealing with inside this home right now. I mean, and physically, how many officers are in this house when you execute a search warrant? Greg, you have to unmute yourself. I'm sorry. There you go. Greg, for some reason we lost your audio. I'm gonna have to have you go out. The COE will help you, which is a bummer, but I'll bounce you out. She'll help you. Phil Ramos, pick that one up. You've got a search warrant being executed, and how many officers are in there? They've got specified items. Walk us through, because most of us have never been inside a home as a search warrant is being executed.
Well, you're going to have the maximum number of officers on the outside, and the minimum number of officers on the inside in protective clothing, so there's no cross-contamination. You generally assign one officer per room. That's his area of responsibility, and he goes ceiling to floor and everything in there, documents everything in there. He'll have someone with him taking notes, and you have the minimum number because you don't want everybody walking all over each other and bumping into each other. It's going to cause you some problems with your crime scene. So at the end of it all, you have to prepare what's called a search warrant return. And in that search warrant return, you list every single thing that you took. Everything has to be on that search warrant return, possibly with the evidence number on it that they have, item 1A, item whatever it is. That's got to be detailed enough so that once you start processing it, and the judge who signed that search warrant is going to want to know, what did you guys find? So, and you have to leave a copy of that search warrant return at the residence listing what you've taken. So it's very, very involved. It's not as easy as say, hey, I need a search warrant. I got a search warrant. Okay, didn't find what we wanted. Let's get out. It's not like that. It's pretty involved.
David Sarney, thank you. A little bit more breaking news here. News Nation is confirming that Nancy Guthrie was not found at the site of this SWAT raid, which is very good news because we're hearing about a medical examiner truck. Now, separately, real quick, There have been two I told you guys there's a lot of these in Tucson. There have been two separate confirmed fatal pedestrians struck by vehicles tonight, because they were talking about a body in the street. So two different fatal pedestrians, which is not unusual in Tucson because it's so dark there. People get hit all the time. But David Sarney, to you, it's got to be good news that Nancy Guthrie was not found here, because there was an ME truck there, apparently.
Well, that's good news. And that's a very positive on that end. So, but there also, you can then push back a little bit. Then the question is, where is she? And we still haven't found that yet. But I think what you're doing now with that search warrant, executing the search warrant, it doesn't mean everybody is just doing that search warrant. They're not, it's like we send everyone. There are still people working the leads. The analysts are still working on that side of it. This is a all hands on deck with the bodies outside doing their job, but they still have stuff behind the scenes, because it's not, even though everyone's like, this has got to be it, it's got to be it. It may not be it. Could it be a nothing burger or something like that? Anything is possible, but the reality is what they're doing now is what they have enough evidence to do, which is do those search warrants, to do the detentions, to take them back to the office, to do that search. And Phil says it best. I don't know the size of the house. You take photos of the house. There's, a crime scene has different techniques now, different technology. You could do a 3D scan of the room. And then as you go through that room, from however you do, whatever rooms they are, how many rooms there are, they're going to take their time on it. Because again, this is why search warrants are done. And this is why you keep a crime scene or keep a search warrant. You have as long as you have to do till you decide it's over. You decide you have enough materials, or you have the property that was listed on that search warrant, or you have the persons that you want on that search warrant. Like I said, narcotic search warrants are much more invasive in a sense, because drugs can hide anywhere. I don't know the wording of the affidavit, don't know the wording of the search warrant, but they're going to do everything they can. Again, this has been almost 2 weeks of this, and people are getting antsy, but the reality is, it's not 47 minutes, no commercials. It's not how it works. This has been one of those Herculean efforts done by detectives in Pima County, in Tucson, maybe they're using Phoenix. I don't know, all the adjoining counties and the FBI to find Nancy. And if Nancy's not there, okay, we're going to look to see where she is. Is there a lead in that house that could lead us to where Nancy is?
I'm reading something that I'm really reluctant. I'm going to hold off on this. It relates to, there's been talk all night about a body connected to that white van, and that's what's being discussed on social media. I can't confirm it. So we're just going to have to wait until the morning, obviously, to see the deal with that. Allison Hargroves, can't thank you enough here. This is super generous. 50 memberships that will go out to all of you. COE, I'm not reading it. Don't worry. Greg, back to Greg Giovanni, who's 34 years in the NYPD and also a hostage negotiator. This has nothing to do with that aspect of your job, but this case, I don't need to tell you, is super high profile, and at the center of it is the Today Show anchor Savannah Guthrie and her siblings. With all this activity tonight, I mean, is the Pima County Sheriff's Department or is an FBI agent going to stop by wherever they're staying and fill them in as to what happened here tonight, or no, because it's an ongoing investigation and they just don't need to know right now, even though their mother is at the center of all this? Your audio's still not coming through, Greg. I'm sorry. It's probably a glitch with StreamYard. I'll try to bounce you out one more time with the COE, and if it doesn't work, we'll just thank you and get you back on a different night, because I know it's getting super late. But Phil Ramos, what do you do if you're law enforcement? Do you have to tell Savannah Guthrie tonight, hey, we were doing this and this? I mean, you're not going to give away any kind of actionable intelligence. I know that, but as a courtesy, do you want to tell her what is going on so they're not sitting there going, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to make a courtesy call to them, or even a visit. You might even give them a heads up. Say, hey, we're going to go to this place. This is, what we're hoping for. We'll let you know. We'll be in touch, because obviously they're going to be advised of it, and they're going to be flooded with information and questions. So with the state of mind that this poor family is in, you gotta show some compassion and show some humanity. And while you still stick with your professional standards, you gotta be human. You gotta let them know, look, this is what we're doing. We may or may not be able to tell you, but we'll tell you if we've got something. We may not be able to tell you what it is, but we'll notify you one way or the other. You don't just leave them out in the cold.
Still just monitoring here. Greg, can you have us now?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you. There's glitches on this, which is StreamYard, which is the software that we use here. So it's on our end, not your end. But yeah, I've got you loud and clear now. What I was asking earlier, which I'd like to get your take on, when this other person was detained the other night, that Culver's, by the way, I know well, very close to a friend of mine's house, and this is very close to Nancy Guthrie's home, and this is where that white van was stopped. But the other night when this person was detained and released, it was nothing like this. What are the % chances that we wake up tomorrow and we hear from and I hope this is not the case, yeah, nothing really came of last night. We had the wrong guy, or we hit the wrong house. Does this have to be some sort of real actionable intelligence that they are working right now with a search warrant and everything that they're combing through?
I think that this is going to go on through the whole night. And we're going to hear something as the night goes on, because obviously there's something going on here. They just they're not putting it out there. It's too soon for law enforcement to put anything out to the media right now. Okay, they're in a process right now of gathering intelligence. Okay, we're on the outside looking in, and we're speculating right now. But as cops, we know what's going on. We know that there's probably some kind of crime scene here. And a lot more intelligence is being gathered right now, and they're holding it. They're holding it right now. They're not gonna. I mean, tell us what's going on right now until they're sure they have their T's crossed and their I's dotted, and that's fine. Okay, but I think we got something here, and we're just gonna have to. We're going to have to wait it out a little bit here, but I think they're really making progress. And you know how the FBI is, right? They gather their intelligence, and when they're ready to hit, boy, they let it out. They got you. So I think they're just being careful, and what's ever going on in there, they're putting the pieces together right now. Okay, it's just the way it is. And Dave, thanks for that shout out. Okay,
wow,
that's very nice.
You're a man.
Sorry, how long have you known Greg for?
Oh man, it's been a while since I've seen him. He disappeared and I didn't know what happened to him. He walked away, did his little walkout and said walk. He kept walking.
It was tough to go.
I know it was for you. You're one of those, you were not gonna go claw and scrape and he stay in.
Greg, what do you do now that you're retired? Are you still involved somehow?
Oh yeah. I work for the Putnam County Sheriff's Department.
Doing what? Like as an investigator?
Lost it.
Like a school resource officer in a uniform in a school because of all the shootings going on and all everywhere. They want a uniform cop in every school where I am.
Yeah.
So that's keeping busy like that. And I do the training. I've done training for them, some hostage training for them. And I continue to do the hostage training for new negotiators for the NYPD. I got a training coming up in March at the academy.
What is the key to being an amazing hostage negotiator? What is it?
Well, the key to communication is good listening. Okay. And I never thought that, I got that from a professor in college when I went to college. It was a public speaking course that I took. And I said, what do you mean the key to communication is good listening? I thought the key to communication was good talking. But no, you got to listen to what's going on. And in a good negotiation, if you're not paying attention, you're going to lose the guy that you're trying to talk out. He's going to see you're not paying attention to me. So you got to, you got to focus and really pay attention. So, and that's what we talk about in the training and active listening, because you got to listen. You really got to pay attention. Yeah, and that's everything in negotiations. Besides that, I did just 20 years in a detective squad, not a negotiator, but handling cases. Okay. All kinds of crimes, investigations, crime scenes and stuff like that. That negotiation stuff in NYPD, that was an extra that we did. We were assigned to different units, right, Dave?
Yeah.
And if you got the call, you had to stop what you're doing and go to this and go to a go. I mean, I might have had sitting at my desk locking somebody up, and now I got to go. So it was an extra thing that we did, and that's what made negotiators very special people, I think, because we did, we do more than we really have to do.
I love that you said that. Someone said, as I'm actively not listening, I'm always listening, because I'll tell you what, as a former broadcast journalist and doing this, I'm
gonna have to go out and come back.
Oh, all right. Same thing. I mean, if anyone who's a great interviewer on TV, I'm not suggesting that I am. I try to work at it, but you've got to be a great listener, because you got to react to whatever someone is saying in real time. And you've got, it's why I'm sure, I'm not trying to compare myself to a hostage negotiator in any way, but you're doing multiple things while you're listening and trying to react. So the bottom line is, I'm glad you said listening, because I tell my kids that it's all about listening is the bottom line. What a great man. Thank you to Greg from Linda with a $10 super chat. So thank you. We will COE. I think I'm going to wind this up, because all the experts here have told us this is going on all night long. Let's listen in for one more minute here to this. COE, let's unmute this reporter and see where they're at.
Police, Marana police were also here. And then last time I was with you, we saw some SWAT vehicles leave, we saw some vans leave, and we have seen forensics vehicle, at least one, go inside the scene and drive down the road. So many questions, though, about what's going on here tonight. We have Nick at another scene where FBI is at, and we have seen, obviously, we heard from the neighbors about what it's like to have the FBI in your community and having so many questions. And then we also have this huge law enforcement presence here, so many unmarked cars that we've seen drive in, along with the Pima County Sheriff's Department. And so we obviously have so many questions. Is the scene that Nick is at related to this scene? And we do know this scene is related to the Nancy Guthrie investigation. So hoping to get some of these answers soon, because now it's been over 2 hours since we were told a statement is coming and no press conference. So obviously, though, what we have taking place in there, law enforcement doing some kind of work in here, because they have been in here now for hours since we have been on scene. So many questions here remain, you guys.
And they'll likely be there the rest of the night. And that's, true. To do a proper investigation, they will be going through that house for an extensive amount of time. When you look at how much time.
Okay, so that was ABC 15. This is now another shot here. This is Fox Local. Phil Ramos, what's going on here? You got the FBI taking photos of a Range Rover. Why?
It's a good question, man. It's you don't see anybody around it. I don't see anybody that would seems to be associated with the vehicle. So, but somehow it's got something to do with the case, because you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 police cars there. You got a uniformed officer keeping the vehicle protected, and then you've got a looks like an evidence team guy with the SUV over to the left with the gate up. So whatever it is, it's clearly germane to the investigation, but we won't know until they, mention something about it.
Are they going to tow this vehicle eventually? I mean, if they're taking photos, I imagine that they're going to want to maybe process it.
Could be, yeah. I mean, if you see a tow truck show up, then yeah, they're going to take it somewhere to get it forensically examined. If that's the case, and that's going to be pretty major as well.
Yeah, people don't believe me when I say this, but right here, she is reiterating what I said. Tucson had 2 hit-and-run fatalities just tonight. So who knows if it's that car. I thought that was at the Culvers. By the way, I am not a fan of Culvers. People will rant and rave about Culvers, which is not in New York. Sarni, did they have Culvers in New York or Jersey now? They never did.
They're moving around. I've never gone into one, so I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
I've seen the name, but I haven't seen one in New York. You know, I'm not part of that Culver's cult that they have.
Yeah. I first heard about it from my friend in Tucson, but how about you, Ramos? They have Culvers. That's where we're at. In Vegas, they've got to have Culvers, right, Ramos?
Yeah, they do, and it's on the strip at one of the hotels. But man, you got everything on the strip. Those resorts, you go from one end of the strip to the other, and everything you've ever. We got White Castle, for Christ's sake, over here.
Well, when you start talking Culvers and White Castle, I think it's probably a great time to wrap it up. COE, do I have permission to do that? By the way, just once again, if you're just joining us and you're just finding or discovering Surviving the Survivor, it's named after my mom. My mother is a child Holocaust survivor. She's 86. She hosts this show on Friday. She's a wild woman, and she's always yelling at me about something. So I came up with the name Surviving the Survivor, and we didn't start as true crime, but that's what we became. And Monday through Thursday, I host a live panel show just like this on whatever big cases are going on. And then Fridays, my mom comes on at 1 o'clock, and it's kind of wacky, and people yell at me for interrupting my mother. However, the rest of the week, it's pretty normal, relatively. And if you guys can hit that like button and subscribe. And we are a global phenomenon because we have 50 countries in our community. Mexico, Viva Mexico is one of them. And we go all around the world. Ireland is there. Black Widor's with us. She's an OG. The Republic of Ireland. I got yelled at the other day, Black Widor, for not acknowledging Scotland enough. That's because of you. So I'm always talking about the Republic of Ireland. And I'll start to mention Scotland as well. I was so surprised to see you live. We've been live quite a bit. For those who don't know, the COE's got a big birthday next week, and it was literally last March that I started planning a trip, and we're leaving Tuesday morning. And if there's no arrest by Tuesday morning, I will have a heart attack. But there better be an arrest by Tuesday morning. If not, we'll have a plan. I don't know what that plan is because we figure out things last minute. Thank you to Molly Magoon. I like that name. But David, COE, do I have permission to rap from you? I have to get a permission slip from the COE. She is the chief of everything. Shout out to Space Coast, who books our guests, and a huge shout out. I mean, Space Coast doesn't book our guests. He does all the tech stuff. He's on the West Coast. Steve Cohen books all our guests, and we've got the best mods in the business. And I don't want to mention him by name because I know I will forget a name. But Phil Ramos, real quick again, she's holding up a flashlight to put light on this vehicle, and there's that guy taking photos. They've got a super up, which is the words on the screen suggesting that this is tied to the Guthrie case. I don't know if this is Guthrie or the hit and run, but this is definitely some sort of processing going on related to this vehicle, right?
Yeah, that guy with the camera's got an FBI jacket on, so he's not going to come to a hit and run accident. That's got to have something to do with it. And the reason they're lighting up the vehicle like that is so that he can focus better with his camera.
Look at this. Cambodia's in the house. Love Warren. I've seen him before. Warren, I might have to retire there. I think I can live probably better in Cambodia financially. But Ramos, I'm intrigued by this now. And Allison, thank you so much. Very generous super chat. Thank you, STS team. And Phil, one of the MVP guests. Sarni's here a lot, but Phil has gone above and beyond the last few weeks covering this. But Ramos, I know you don't know, but you know a lot more than me. What's your now he's at the front of the car. I mean, what's your hunch here?
Well, I'm kind of conflicted now because now you got some bozo over there taking pictures with his cell phone and a couple other people right there. I'm wondering why that deputy hasn't shooed them away if it's critical evidence there, which I would think it's got some degree of criticality to it because the FBI is there taking pictures of it. So
Are you talking about the people on the right there? Because like
no, right in front of next to the deputies there on the sidewalk of that retaining wall. I mean, when just a few seconds ago, when the FBI tech was taking his pictures, there was some, bird brain standing behind him with his cell phone. Hey, yeah, I'm taking a picture. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to make of that.
Yeah, this is, by the way, at that Culver's. Thank you to a Brooklyn girl, Linda. River and First Avenue Culver parking lot is where the Range Rover is now. They're photographing by the FBI. Again, we're not going to know a lot of these answers until tomorrow. David Sarney, you are the man. You are a legend in my eyes. Retired NYPD detective. He teaches criminal justice at John Jay College. Your final thoughts here. Do you think what's up, Cuds? Nikki Cuds is in the house. I'm getting loopy right now. But David Sarney, when we wake up tomorrow, what do you think we learn?
Hopefully nothing. Hopefully what they're doing is what they're doing. Nothing's going to get released. It's just unusual. They're taking photos, and I looked at the van, and the van's plates covered. I don't know if that's the rear plates covered for some reason. I'm trying to figure out why that's the case. But you may not find anything out, because if you're doing it, then that meant they did the whole crime scene. They're going to take their time. It is going to be probably till morning. These are the things that Greg remembers. When things happen, it's an all-nighter. So this is what's going to be. This is an all-nighter. You're not going to get an answer that you want. And I know the media is going to be begging for an answer, but you're not, because it may happen 8 o'clock in the morning. It may happen at 10 o'clock in the morning. But even if you process the scene, unless you have something absolutely guaranteed home run that you want to put out to the media, then you do it. But everything else is step-by-step process. That's why they're doing the car. I don't know why they're doing the van, but the plate, there's no back plate on the van, or it's covered. I don't know what the story is on that. You will find out when the sheriff and the FBI are good and ready to tell everybody. That's the best way I can tell you. But the reality is Nancy isn't there. The answer that we all want, where is she? That's what it really comes down to.
I mean, you think we'll get a statement or a press briefing tomorrow now at some point?
You might get very brief. And I was bringing up, there's an ABCD thing. This is what we did last night. We executed 2 search warrants on these locations. We detained these people pending any further investigation, and they may answer questions and leave it at that. That might be the only thing you should get, is saying what we did, not what we recovered, what we're doing, what we're going to do, well, what we did to clarify what happened. And there will be questions, and there will be people out there. And Brian Enter will ask his questions, and he should, because he's a great journalist. But if I'm the press officer, you're getting the ABCD. That's it.
Well said. That is David Sarney, retired NYPD detective. By the way, today we collaborate every once in a while with Dr. G Explains. He's a world-renowned body language and behavior expert, and he looked at this video right here, the Nest Cam video, and he broke it down. It's fascinating. It's under the video tab. Last night, I interviewed an absolute legend, a guy named retired FBI Special Agent Greg McCrary. He helped devise profiling for the FBI, has literally written a book on it. He's also under the video tab. And what he says will literally blow you away. So they're both under the video tab. Check that out. And then if you want to go to the live tab, you can see my mother and I. We were very tame today, but typically we argue much more. Another huge thanks to Greg Giovanni, retired with the NYPD after 34 years. You see that it's in these guys' blood. He's still working after the NYPD, and he was a hostage negotiator. Greg, your final thoughts here. Do you agree with Sarney? Are we going to get some sort of press briefing tomorrow? Are we going to learn something about what happened here tonight? And are they close, do you think, to cracking this case?
I agree. I agree with Dave. Okay. We're going to be here all night. I think this is good stuff. I think this has to do with the case. All right. We just gotta wait. We could be at 7 o'clock in the morning. We could be in the same spot here, and hopefully we get some some good information. You know, we're dying to find out where this woman is. Yeah, you know, I mean, this is how long now? A week and a half?
Tomorrow's 2 weeks. Tomorrow's 14 days. Tomorrow's
Yeah,
14
yeah.
days.
Oh, I mean, we're gonna listen. You're gonna wake up tomorrow morning and probably see, you know, daylight in the same vehicles in the same spot and figure out what's going on. You know.
Yeah.
But it's gonna happen. It's gonna come. They're gonna give us some information as time goes on. Right now. They're just gathering. This is the initial stage of whatever's going on in there. Okay.
Yeah. Greg, what's your gut tell you about Nancy Guthrie? You think she's with us or not?
You know, these kidnappers or whatever you want to call them. All right. To me, I think they're amateurs. Okay. I think they got themselves in a little bit of a pickle. Okay. They took this woman, and you know, for how long the family's been asking, you just let me know if she's okay. Let me know if she's okay, and you know, I'll give you the money, right? But they never produced any of that information. Now you say to yourself, why? Are they playing hardball? You know, maybe they couldn't. Maybe there's something going on. Maybe she wasn't doing well. Maybe she's not. You know, maybe she's not with us anymore. Okay, and that's why they can't produce her. All right, but if that's the case, I'm wondering why they didn't just skip town, because now you got a homicide. This woman is in their possession. All right. If she's dead, you know, you got a murder. So it's just good. They're going to just get themselves deeper into this. And I'm wondering why they just haven't tried to, you know, put her out there in some way, just some evidence to show the family that, you know, she's still alive. Anything, you know. If they had, you know, the grandmother's maiden name, they could give to the family. Something, you know, you don't have to take a picture of the woman, but just something to give the family some hope. She's still around, and you still have her, and you can still produce her. Right now, we don't know. We don't know if they got their money, they could just skip town, and you're gonna have to find that body. They don't have to say anything. So, but now we're in a little different situation now. I think the FBI has gathered whatever they got in their intelligence, you know, and I think we got something here. And these people, I mean, come on, that video of that guy at the doorbell. Look at the way he looks. He's got a gun. It looks like some crazy holster that could have been his kid's holster. You know what I'm saying? He comes to a doorbell without any duct tape. He covers it with weeds. These guys, you know. What we're working with here is, you know, I'm a little. I can't. If you ask me, like, what do you think about her? I just hope she's still alive. I really do. And there's a possibility she might be.
Yeah.
Let's just see what's going to happen here.
Yeah.
But these guys, man, there's more than one person involved here. It's not just that guy at the doorbell.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. If you had to guess, you think it's two or more?
He's definitely working with somebody else. I don't know, you know, but it's not, this guy's not doing it alone. Definitely not.
Yeah.
Okay. And maybe they're closer than you think, you know?
You can tell Greg Yavani is not just intelligent, but also incredibly street smart, which is what you get in New York City. I can see him thinking about this in real time. Another guy that's very street smart, who's had guns put to his head when he was in undercover narcotics and was shot at one point with a contract out on his life, is Phil Ramos, 3-time Officer of the Year. One of my favorite people, also retired homicide detective with Vegas PD. But Phil Ramos, you get the last word tonight. Unfortunately for you, I'm going to be back at it at some point, probably late morning tomorrow, early morning Tucson, and you know I'm going to invite you and hope that you come on. What did we just witness here tonight, and what do you think tomorrow brings?
I mean, what all this is about, and now that we're looking at this car, they're getting closer to it. There's no damage to the front, so I don't see how it could be involved in any kind of hit and run. But you know, we're just gonna have to wait and see. we're gonna have to wait and see. Before we cut away to this, there was some drone FLIR footage of what I think is the house, because there were 30 some vehicles around it and about 30 guys standing on the corner. So I think clearly that's the house that they had searched and where all the vehicles went to, because there was a gaggle of cops there.
Phil Ramos, just please, last thing tonight, tell me that we're not going to wake up and have the sheriff say, yeah, we detained the wrong people. They can't be bringing this many people out to say that tomorrow, can they?
No, not with what's going on at the house. I don't now whether these people are directly associated with Nancy's abduction. It's hard to say, but yeah, this isn't going to be like the other night with the traffic stop on the one food delivery guy. This is a big development.
Yeah.
Testimony to the number of cars that were there, and be interesting to find out what that medical examiner vehicle was about. They specifically said that Nancy wasn't there in the house, so that was a big sigh of relief, and I think we're all happy about that. But there was some death of.
I mean, Phil, this last question here. The Range Rover, looks like Phil froze up here for a second. Oh, there you are. The Range Rover looks traffic related. There's white scrapes on the front bumper. But again, it's an FBI tech taking photos. It wouldn't be for any kind of routine traffic accident unless this vehicle was involved in some sort of fatality related to the Guthries, like when maybe they're running from the police or something. But it has to be related to this, right?
Yeah. Well, with the FBI, I mean, a simple conclusion. The FBI being there means that it's related to, the Nancy investigation. Like I said, FBI doesn't roll out on a hit and run. If those are scrapes on there, there does look like to be a little front damage on the driver's side lower quarter panel. But I don't see that vehicle's been there for a little bit, judging from the rain, and it looked like there was a sunscreen on the windshield. So it's hard to say what that is, but with the FBI there taking pictures, it's not traffic related.
Final question, Ramos. The wife and I, no kids, believe it or not. I've been planning this for a year, and I love my kids, but I'm not taking them with me because it's my wife's birthday, and we're hopping in a plane Tuesday late morning. Do you think there will be an arrest before then for my own sanity?
Maybe. Depends on what the results of the search warrant are. It could lead them in another direction, but let's keep our fingers crossed, because it could be. I mean, they're going to be. This is the point where the detectives working this thing, when they come home, their kids are calling them Uncle Dad because they're gone so much. It's just these guys are working their tails off, and I feel for them. I've been there.
Yeah. All right. Well, back to blue. We support law enforcement on this channel. If you don't like law enforcement, probably not the right place for you. Huge thanks again, David Sarney, Greg Giovanni, former hostage negotiator with the NYPD, and Detective Phil Ramos, the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. Gentlemen, just stick around for one more second so I can thank you off air. We'll be on tomorrow morning. If you want to find out the times, please follow me on Twitter or X at Podcast STS, at Podcast STS, on Instagram at Surviving the Survivor. Yeah, we will, CO. We will be on tomorrow, late morning, early afternoon, on Instagram at Surviving the Survivor. There should be a news conference tomorrow. If there's not, I'd be really surprised. So stick around, be with us tomorrow. And by the time I get away to where we're going, I'll probably be hospitalized in whatever country we're in. On that note, love you all. Let's bring Nancy home. She's right here. And love you, Tucson. Love you, New York City. Love you, Vegas. Love you, Tucson. Guys, stick around 1 second.